Chapter 4267. The Divine Tree of Life. As the silhouette of the towering tree appeared in the air, Duanling Tian, who was originally calm, had a change of expression on his face. Ning Yishuan actually possessed a branch from the Divine Tree of Life. Moreover, the branch was not simple. Otherwise, he would not have been able to summon the Divine Tree of Life's apparition to defend himself. Duanling Tian attacked with all his might, intending to destroy the Divine Tree of Life's apparition. However, the Divine Tree of Life's apparition seemed to have the ability to repair itself. No matter how powerful Duanling Tian's apparition was, it could still repair itself and prevent Duanling Tian's apparition from helping his main body. Of course, it was not unlimited. During this process, Duanling Tian noticed that the speed at which the Divine Tree of Life repaired itself could not keep up with the speed at which his apparition was destroying it. Even so, it would be difficult to destroy it without a certain amount of time. Duanling Tian's main body was in imminent danger. At this moment, even Duanling Tian could feel death approaching him. This was the second time he felt death approaching him since he entered the ultimate god realm. Even the previous time when he faced the Yun clan leader in the Divine Offering Land was not as dangerous as this. Duanling Tian, I know you very well. I know what you're capable of. Now, do you have any other tricks up your sleeve? Ning Yishuan had a victorious smile on his face as he continued to attack Duanling Tian with the 9-foot-long spear in his hand. Duanling Tian was the only celestial emperor he knew who was more talented than him. Therefore, after hearing about Duanling Tian, Ning Yishuan had done a thorough research on Duanling Tian. He knew Duanling Tian was not a native of the realms of gods and Duanling Tian was from a mundane realm. He knew Duanling Tian did not have a bloodline to rely on, but he had his apparition. From the beginning, Ning Yishuan had calculated everything he knew about Duanling Tian. Therefore, Ning Yishuan felt victory was within his grasp. There was almost no suspense. Whoosh! After Duanling Tian's feeble attacks were mostly destroyed, Duanling Tian finally regained control of his body. The sword light on the 7 orifices exquisite sword rose again. Although Ning Yishuan's bloodline mystique was powerful, it couldn't restrict Duanling Tian forever. There was a time limit, and after using it once, he needed to recover for a long time before he could use it again. Otherwise, wouldn't he be heaven-defying? In this world, there was no such exaggerated bloodline power. Even the descendants of the most powerful masters could not have such exaggerated bloodline power. It's useless. It's too late. Ning Yishuan smiled faintly. His unstoppable offensive instantly suppressed Duanling Tian's later offensive, completely suppressing Duanling Tian. It seemed that if this continued, Duanling Tian would definitely lose, or even die. At this time, the illusory figure of the sacred tree of life was still entangled with Duanling Tian's spatial law doppelganger. As for Duanling Tian's other law doppelgangers, even if they were to come out, they would not be of much use. They were too weak to block the opponent's powerful attacks. If they were to come out, they could only be cannon fodder, and the useless kind of cannon fodder. Your strength is beyond my expectations. I didn't expect you to have the branch given to you by the sacred tree of life. At this critical moment, Duanling Tian sighed. It was not difficult for him to see that the branch of the sacred tree of life came from a complete and powerful sacred tree of life. And that kind of sacred tree of life only existed in the small world of an ultimate master. Obviously, Ning Yishuan had a close relationship with an ultimate master. Otherwise, he would not have been given such a treasure. Such a treasure could not only be used for healing, but it could also be used against enemies. Just like now, it easily blocked the attack of his law doppelganger. If he did not have any other means to rely on, he would definitely die today. It seems like I can only rely on the power of the sacred tree of life again. Duanling Tian sighed inwardly. Then, he opened the small world in his body, and the life-divine energy on the sacred tree of life surged and swept out, shrouding the aggressive Ning Yishuan. The life-divine energy of the sacred tree of life was endless, attacking and counteracting the law of life on Ning Yishuan's body. At the same time, it consumed a lot of its own energy. This was because the life-divine energy came from the same source. Otherwise, it would not be so easy to counteract such a level of law of life. The sacred tree of life. At this moment, Ning Yishuan's expression changed completely, and he exclaimed in disbelief, "You have a complete sacred tree of life in your body." Ning Yishuan naturally knew what this meant. It meant that although the person in front of him was not an ultimate master, he already had the shadow of one. This was because the sacred tree of life in the small world in the body was a characteristic of an ultimate master. Of course, the opponent was not an ultimate master. This meant that the opponent had found a complete sacred tree of life through other means and made the sacred tree of life recognize him as its master, willing to guard the small world in his body. Swoosh. At the same time, after Ning Yishuan's attack was counteracted by more than half, Duan Lingtian's counterattack instantly turned the tables and suppressed Ning Yishuan's attack. Then, he swept his attack toward Ning Yishuan. In just a blink of an eye, not only was the situation reversed, but Duan Lingtian even gained the upper hand. In fact, it seemed like Duan Lingtian was about to kill Ning Yishuan. Ning Yishuan's eyes flashed with a hint of reluctance. If I hadn't exhausted so much of my profound divine metal last time, and it's still in a deep slumber, I might have been able to kill him this time even with the help of the sacred tree of life. What a pity! What a pity! Not only was Ning Yishuan talented, but his luck was also heaven-defying. He had obtained a piece of profound divine metal in his early years and successfully transformed it into a high-grade profound divine metal. In the Ning clan, he was widely acknowledged as the most likely person to become an ultimate master. This was because he had mastered one of the 4 Taoists of heaven and earth, the weapon Tao and the spear Tao. This was because he possessed a high-grade profound divine metal. At this moment, Ning Yishuan was unaware that his opponent also possessed a high-grade profound divine metal that was in a deep slumber. In fact, his opponent not only possessed a profound divine metal, but he also possessed the other 4 divine elements. Moreover, all of them were in a deep slumber. Otherwise, the divine elements could easily destroy or even devour the profound divine metal in his body. Ning Yishuan's law of life was being counteracted by the sacred tree of life in Duan Lingtian's little world, making it impossible for him to block Duan Lingtian's attack. A hint of struggle flashed on Ning Yishuan's face before a jade talisman appeared in his hand. As soon as the jade talisman appeared, Duan Lingtian felt as though it contained a terrifying aura. It was as though a dreadful beast was hiding inside. Before he could react, Ning Yishuan had already crushed the jade talisman. Crack! The jade talisman shattered into pieces as a terrifying explosion reverberated through the skies, after which an incomparably gigantic face appeared in the air. It was faintly discernible, as though it was an illusory image, yet at the same time, it also seemed as though it was real. It was the face of a middle-aged man. His calm eyes glanced at Duan Lingtian, causing Lingtian's heart to palpitate. Then, he shifted his gaze to Ning Yishuan. "Old ancestor, I'm useless. I've embarrassed you." In front of this giant face, Ning Yishuan appeared a little dejected, even restraining his strength. Duan Lingtian's attack and the sacred tree of life's attack were blocked by an invisible barrier. The invisible barrier appeared out of nowhere like an impenetrable wall. At this moment, Duan Lingtian felt powerless. At the same time, the sacred tree of life in his body trembled and withdrew its life force. Duan Lingtian could clearly feel that the sacred tree of life was trembling in fear. It was as if the huge face in front of him was some kind of scourge. This is a supreme expert? Just as this thought appeared in Duan Lingtian's mind, he saw the huge face blow out a breath. It tore open the space in the secret realm and took Ning Yishuan away. A spatial crack appeared. Then, a terrifying suction force extended out and forcibly took Ning Yishuan away. The gigantic face glanced at Duan Lingtian calmly again before it vanished again. It was as if it had never appeared. In the next moment, the spatial crack that sucked Ning Yishuan in also disappeared. From the beginning to the end, Duan Lingtian was stunned. What was going on? He was only guessing before, but at this moment, he was completely sure that the huge face that appeared just now was definitely a supreme expert. Otherwise, it would not have been able to take Ning Yishuan away. This was a secret realm in the dimensional battlefield. Once it was opened, even the top upper ultimate gods would not be able to intervene. let alone save someone. What is this? A supreme expert is cheating? Duan Lingtian frowned. Although he did not attack me, I did not kill Ning Yishuan either. Will this single-person's secret realm still give me the rewards I deserve? Just as Duan Lingtian was frowning and lamenting the darkness of this world, in the battlefield of the divine judgment, a middle-aged phantom was preparing to leave through space with a young man. However, just as he was about to attack, a gentle energy appeared out of thin air and stopped him. It prevented him from attacking and shattering the space. Ning Yunheng, you've crossed the line. An old man with white hair and a ruddy complexion appeared. He looked at the middle-aged phantom and spoke indifferently. At the same time, a tall and handsome young man in green appeared. He glanced at the middle-aged phantom and said coldly, Ning Yunheng, are you deliberately provoking us today? Chapter 4268. Ning Yunheng. The Ning clan was one of the most powerful godly, venerable rank clans in the Land of Sanctions. The God's Judgment battlefield was a planar battlefield formed by the intersection of the Divine Offering Land and the Sanction Land. It was the handiwork of many supreme experts from the two planes. Usually, there would be two supreme experts stationed at the God's Judgment battlefield to monitor the surroundings. The purpose was to prevent other supreme experts from interfering in the battlefield of planes and destroying the fairness of the battlefield of planes. The battlefield of planes was a place they created to train their juniors so that more supreme experts could be born. With more supreme experts, the probability of a supreme expert being born would naturally be higher. Now, the two supreme experts in charge of the battlefield of divine judgment had appeared to stop Ning Yunheng, a supreme expert, from interfering in the battlefield of divine judgment. They had clearly seen Ning Yunheng's previous actions through some of the arrangements in the battlefield of divine judgment. Ning Yunheng had interfered in the fight between two geniuses in a single-person secret realm. When one of them was about to die, he had hastily intervened and saved him. He had even brought him out of the single-person secret realm and avoided death. Fellow Taoists. As for Ning Yunheng, who was preparing to leave with his Ning family's genius junior, Ning Yishuan, when he saw the two of them appear in such an aggressive manner, not only did he not get angry, he instead sighed. This is the most outstanding descendant of my Ning family in history. I don't wish for him to die in the planar battlefield at this time. I'm sure both of you have heard of this descendant of mine. As long as there are no accidents, the probability of him becoming a supreme expert in the future is extremely high. The planar battlefield exists to nurture even more monstrous geniuses. If a genius like my descendant were to perish there, wouldn't it be too much of a pity? Although Ning Yunheng was a supreme expert, he was very humble at this moment. First, it was because he was only a projection of his divine power as a supreme expert, while the other two had come in person. Second, it was because he was in the wrong and had violated the rules of the battlefield of planes. Ning Yishuan. At this time, the old man of the two supreme experts who had just arrived also calmed down a little in the face of Ning Yunheng's humble attitude. At the same time, he looked at Ning Yishuan beside Ning Yunheng and said, I've heard of him. He is indeed a good genius. Even when he fought in the single-person secret realm earlier, his skills were astonishing and even stronger than ordinary medium-level ultimate gods. Right after the old man's words left his mouth, the young man who was the last to arrive declined to comment. Compared to his opponent, I'm still much weaker. Wasn't the Tree of Life and the escape methods Ning Yunheng left for him? The young man paused for a moment before looking at Ning Yunheng. Ning Yunheng, how do you think your descendant compares to his opponent? Hearing this, Ning Yunheng was silent for a moment, then gently shook his head. No, you also know that I'm not as good as you. If we're talking about becoming an omnipotent, that person's potential is much greater than your descendants. Today, you rashly interfered in a fair fight between them, violating the rules of the planar battlefield. If you were him, what would you think? Now, as long as he's not stupid, I'm afraid he'd have already guessed that you're an omnipotent. What's the difference between your actions and suppressing him? Now that you've taken your descendant away, although that secret realm will give him a reward in the end, do you think that's fair to him? As soon as the young man finished speaking, the old man looked at Ning Yunheng. Ning Yunheng, take something to compensate that little fellow. At the same time, The two of us will call for an omnipotent meeting to reveal your actions. In the end, you'll definitely have to bear some additional responsibility. Even if the two of us are willing to make things easier for you, the truth can't be concealed forever. Instead of being found out later and being held accountable by the three of us, it's better to directly resolve this matter publicly. What do you think? The old man asked. Seeing that Ning Yunheng seemed to be hesitating, the old man continued, "Of course, you have another option. That is to send your descendant back and no longer interfere in the fight between him and that young man. Under such circumstances, you can just compensate that young man with something. There's no need to call for an omnipotent meeting to hold you accountable." The old man gave Ning Yunheng two options. The young man did not speak, but it was obvious that he agreed with the old man. At this moment, Ning Yishuan, who had been silent all this while, finally spoke. "Patriarch, send me back. I didn't know that you would be held accountable for saving me. If I knew, I would never have crushed the life-saving jade token you left for me." Ning Yishuan regretted it. Although he did not know what the omnipotent meeting was and did not know what responsibility he, the patriarch, would have to bear, since it was a responsibility agreed upon by the omnipotent meeting, it would not be a simple responsibility. Perhaps there would even be a certain degree of danger. If this patriarch encountered danger and something happened to him, it would be a great blow to the Ning clan. At that time, he, Ning Yishuan, would become a sinner of the Ning clan. Although there were only two people left in his lineage, because of the glory of his lineage in the past, although his lineage no longer had the glory of the past, it still received all sorts of courtesy and preferential treatment in the Ning clan. If he became a sinner of the Ning clan, not only would he let down the rest of the Ning clan, but he would also let down the ancestors of his lineage. However, as soon as Ning Yishuan finished speaking, Ning Yunheng raised his hand and knocked him unconscious and took him away. At the same time, Ning Yunheng's divine power projection shattered the space and left behind two metal pieces before taking Ning Yishuan away. These two embryos of omnipotent divine artifacts are the compensation I gave him back then. You can start the omnipotent meeting at any time. I, Ning Yunheng, will bear any punishment." These were the words Ning Yunheng left behind for the two of them before he left with his people. The old man, who was standing in the same spot, put away the two embryos of omnipotent divine artifacts and sighed. It seems that this guy sees his descendant as the hope of the Ning clan. Last time, it seems that he was seriously injured and left a way out for the Ning clan. The old man sighed, and a bitter expression appeared on his face. It seems that it won't be long before another old friend leaves this world. "I can see that," the young man said calmly. The young man spoke with a calm expression. "I only hope that his descendant doesn't disappoint him." "I don't think so." The old man shook his head. "I've heard of that Ning Yishuan. He's indeed a good seedling. With his help, there's a chance that he'll become a superior ultimate god within 3,000 years and an omnipotent expert within 10,000 years. An omnipotent expert within 10,000 years? The young man smiled faintly. It's not that easy to become an omnipotent expert. Who among us didn't go through hardships to become an omnipotent expert? I'll take my leave first. You can finish the rest. It's best not to let that little guy harbor any resentment. He's a good seedling and may become one of our comrades in the future." Before the young man's figure faded and disappeared, two streams of light shot toward the old man. "Give these two embryos of omnipotent divine artifacts to him as well." After the young man disappeared, the old man looked at the two embryos of sword-shaped omnipotent divine artifacts in his hands and couldn't help but gasp. Is this guy going to invest in that little guy? He thinks so highly of him? Just because that little guy mastered such a sword principle when he just entered the lower ultimate god realm? I don't understand these guys who practice the sword. The old man's figure began to fade on the spot and then disappeared. At the same time, a voice muttered to himself and gradually dissipated. Should I also give him one or two embryos of omnipotent divine artifacts as an investment in him? In the single-person secret realm, Duan Lingtian was still in a daze. It wasn't until the sky was filled with rosy clouds and beams of light fell like a meteor shower that he regained his senses. So many rewards? In fact, Duan Lingtian wanted to get one reward the most, not multiple rewards. Multiple rewards meant that the rewards had to be shared. After sharing, the value of each reward would be reduced accordingly. But now, there were 7 rewards falling down at the same time. He couldn't help but feel a little depressed. Just now, the omnipotent expert had forcefully intervened to save the other party. But now, even the rewards had become 7. Could it be that the omnipotent expert was behind this too? Because I almost killed his people? Now, without guessing, Duan Lingtian could also guess that the arrogant guy named Ning Yishuan must have been saved by the omnipotent expert behind the Ning clan, or the omnipotent expert's other friends. Thinking about how the other party had not only taken the person away, breaking the rules, but also causing trouble with the rewards of the secret realm, Duan Lingtian couldn't help but feel a burst of anger in his heart. Of course, although he was a little angry, he also knew that he could only endure it. That was an omnipotent expert, an existence that could kill him with a flick of a finger. Although angry, now that the rewards had fallen, Duan Lingtian didn't ignore them. Even if they were shared and each reward was very ordinary, no matter how small a mosquito was, it was still meat. Even if he couldn't use it, it was fine to keep it for his family and friends. However, when Duan Lingtian lazily took the rewards, he was stunned again. Other than a fist-sized aquamarine bottle with a cork, there was nothing special about it. The other 6 items all gave him a familiar feeling. These are the embryos of the omnipotent artifacts? It hadn't been long since he had obtained the embryos of the omnipotent artifacts. Therefore, when Duan Lingtian held these 6 ordinary-looking pieces of metal in his hand, he recognized them immediately. Are the rewards of this single-person's secret realm so generous? It can't be, right? At this moment, Duan Lingtian felt as if he was dreaming. Didn't they say that the embryos of the omnipotent artifacts were very hard to come by? How did he get 6 of them in such a short time? Including the one that merged with the 7 orifices exquisite sword, there were a total of 7. In other words, if 2 more embryos of the omnipotent artifacts merged with the 7 orifices exquisite sword, as long as the 7 orifices exquisite sword was given a certain amount of time to digest them, it would directly transform into an omnipotent artifact. Chapter 4269. Last time. In the extremely rare natural secret realm, the last test that was as difficult as ascending the heavens for an ordinary upper god emperor was only rewarded with 1 embryo of a supreme divine weapon. However, this time, Duan Lingtian had received a total of 6 embryos in this single-person secret realm. Even though he knew that this single-person secret realm had cost a lot of battle merits to activate and that the rewards were extraordinary, Duan Lingtian did not dare to believe that there would be such a generous reward. The value of this reward, excluding the unknown bottle, could be said to be more than half a supreme divine weapon. What's going on? Duan Lingtian was puzzled and confused. Could it be that the supreme divine weapon who abducted the person gave me an extra reward because he was in the wrong? Right when this thought appeared in Duan Lingtian's mind, an aged voice seemed to resound out of thin air by his ears. The 6 supreme divine weapons came from me and 2 other people. One of them was the person who abducted your opponent. That person was his descendant and extremely talented. He was also the hope of their clan's future, so he could not bear to see his descendant perish just like that. After all, he broke the rules, so he left behind 2 embryos of supreme divine weapons as compensation. To you, this should be considered a good thing, not a bad thing. As for the other 4 embryos of supreme divine weapons, 2 non-sword-shaped ones were given to you by me, and the other 2 sword-shaped ones were given to you by a sword practitioner like yourself. I won't introduce myself. In the future, if you become a supreme divine weapon one day, you will naturally know about us. The old voice seemed to ring in the air, but in the blink of an eye, it seemed to have returned to dead silence. Duan Lingtian, on the other hand, finally came to a realization at this moment. So this was the truth. The 6 embryos of supreme divine weapons did not count as the reward for this single-person's secret realm. To be able to let me hear his voice, this old man should also be in supreme divine weapon. The sword practitioner he mentioned is most likely also in supreme divine weapon. As this thought appeared in his mind, Duan Lingtian took a deep breath and cupped his hands slightly toward the vast void in front of him. Then, he said sincerely, Thank you, Senior. Senior, please thank that sword cultivator Senior on my behalf. As for the supreme expert who took Ning Yishuan away, the other party did not thank him, because in his opinion, he and the other party were at most a transaction. The two embryos of the supreme divine artifacts were nothing more than the money he gave to his descendants to buy their lives. With that, Duan Lingtian summoned the 7 orifices exquisite sword. Huang fuse these 6 embryos into the sword as well. Take your time to absorb them. I will try my best to obtain 2 supreme divine artifact embryos for you as soon as possible so that you can officially transform into a supreme divine artifact. The supreme divine artifact embryo was used to increase the quality of ordinary divine artifacts. Therefore, Duan Lingtian did not intend to keep it. All of them fused into the 7 orifices exquisite sword. Thank you, Master. Wang Er's figure appeared in a flash as she repeatedly thanked Duan Lingtian. There was a hint of excitement in her tone. At that moment, Duan Lingtian could also clearly feel that the other full soul superior grade divine artifact hidden in the space law doppelganger was also getting restless. Sensing this, Duan Lingtian said faintly, "When I have gathered 9 embryos of the supreme divine artifact for the 7 orifices exquisite sword, I will give you the next embryos of the supreme divine artifact. My doppelganger of the laws of space will eventually need an ultimate divine artifact." If it had been in the past, Duan Lingtian would have felt that he was getting carried away if he thought of obtaining a second supreme divine artifact, but this time, he had obtained 6 embryos of the supreme divine artifact at once, and he saw the hope of completing a supreme divine artifact. The first supreme divine artifact was very close. Would the second be far away? With Duan Lingtian's cooperation and Huang Er's efforts, the 6 embryos of the supreme divine artifact had all been integrated into the 7 orifices exquisite sword. As long as the 7 orifices exquisite sword completely absorbed and digested all of them, its power would rise to another level. Huang how long do you think? These embryos of the supreme divine artifact, will you be able to completely absorb and digest them? Duan Lingtian asked. If I am in seclusion and can't come out to assist Master in battle, it will be faster. But like now, it will be slower. It will take at least 10 years to barely absorb and digest all of them, Huang said. Huang Er's words enlightened Duan Lingtian. It was no wonder that Huang had yet to completely integrate the first embryo of the supreme divine artifact. It turned out that it would take such a long time. Of course, only Duan Lingtian felt that it would take a long time. Even if one embryo of the supreme divine artifact took 10 years to integrate, 9 embryos would only take 90 years. For an ordinary cultivator, 90 years would pass in the blink of an eye. But for Duan Lingtian, 90 years was more than 1/10 of the time he had experienced in his life. This bottle is the reward for the solo secret realm this time. After Huang returned to the 7 orifices exquisite sword and put it away, Duan Lingtian's attention returned to the bottle that he had obtained along with the 6 embryos of the supreme divine artifact. This bottle was green and round. It was the size of his fist and had a cork on it. Is this a divine elixir? Duan Lingtian's first reaction was that this was a bottle of elixir, although this bottle of elixir was very different from the elixir bottles that he usually saw. Let's see what it is. Curious, Duan Lingtian opened the elixir bottle. Of course, he opened it slowly. When he opened the cork a little, a soft and sweet smell wafted out of the bottle and into Duan Lingtian's nostrils. In the next moment, Duan Lingtian felt that the divine power in his body was flowing smoothly and he felt refreshed. With Duan Lingtian's eyesight, he could clearly see that the bottle did not contain any divine elixir but a pool of liquid that filled the entire bottle. Of course, this liquid was not the supreme divine power. It should be drinkable, right? Duan Lingtian took a drop of the liquid from the bottle and after confirming that there was no problem, he swallowed it into his body. In the next moment, the liquid released a magical medicinal effect in his body, causing the divine power in Duan Lingtian's body to boil even more. He felt as if his divine power was burning. When the medicinal effect was completely absorbed, although the change in his divine power was minimal, Duan Lingtian could still feel the changes within. It can increase divine power? It can even increase an ultimate god's divine power. As far as I know, Even those so-called supremacy divine elixirs that claim to be able to increase divine power have very little effect. Even if they are refined into supreme supremacy divine elixirs, the medicinal effect will not increase much. Moreover, any kind of supreme supremacy divine elixir usually requires rare medicinal herbs as the main ingredient. Even a powerful ultimate god faction may not be able to gather enough medicinal herbs to refine a cauldron of such a divine elixir in 10,000 years. Most importantly, even if the refinement was successful, the improvement would not be significant. When one reached the ultimate god realm, the improvement of divine power was more dependent on oneself. External help would not be of much help. However, Duan Lingtian realized that just one drop of the liquid in the elixir bottle had made a slight improvement in his divine power. If he swallowed all of it, there should be a definite improvement. Although it was impossible to completely consolidate his cultivation base as a lower ultimate god, it should be close. If I can use this, so can other lower ultimate gods. Some lower ultimate gods who are close to becoming a medium ultimate god can also be closer to becoming a medium ultimate god if they consume this liquid. Just as this thought came to his mind, Duan Lingtian saw a spatial crack appear not far in front of him. It then turned into a spatial whirlpool and a suction force attacked him. Without any hesitation, Duan Lingtian immediately plugged the cork of the bottle in his hand and put it into his storage ring before being sucked into the spatial whirlpool. After all, he was not leaving the natural secret realm this time. Due to this reason, Duan Lingtian did not have to go through any tests in the space. He was directly sent out of the space. After being sent out, Duan Lingtian found himself in the sky above a vast barren mountain. After coming out, Duan Lingtian did not stay idle. He immediately poured the remaining liquid in the bottle into his mouth and swallowed it in one gulp. Duan Lingtian dared to do so because the unknown liquid's medicinal effect was not strong and was even very gentle. This time, I've gained quite a lot. At least, I got what I wanted. Moreover, this bottle of liquid is a treasure for an ultimate god. If a divine pill is to achieve the same effect as this bottle of liquid, I'm afraid it would take at least hundreds of thousands or even millions of years of effort by a powerful ultimate god force to collect the herbs needed to refine a supreme-level divine pill that can enhance divine power. Moreover, my gains this time are not much compared to my previous ultimate god cultivation base. After all, it only helped me to quickly consolidate half of my cultivation base as a lower ultimate god. Duan Lingtian had long known that it was difficult to cultivate as an ultimate god. However, he entered the secret realm this time with the ambition to completely consolidate his cultivation base. Now, his ambition had not been realized, or it could be said that he had only achieved half of it. Next, I just have to wait for the chaotic area to open. Duan Lingtian's eyes flashed. That area has been open for 10 years. In addition, there are many people from the realms of gods in that area, so the speed of obtaining battle merits will be much faster. Moreover, there are more opportunities in that place. It's said that there are ultimate gods taking special care of that place. Ultimate gods. When he thought of ultimate gods, Duan Lingtian could not help but recall the scene earlier. A huge face appeared. It seemed real and illusory at the same time. It might not have been the real person, but it gave him a sense of oppression. It was as if the other party only needed to glare at him if he wanted to kill him. It's not difficult to see that even ultimate gods have the same emotions and desires as ordinary people. Duan Lingtian did not expect Ning Yishuan to be able to get an ultimate god to help him. Also, the branch from the divine tree of life that he detonated earlier must have come from the divine tree of life in the ultimate god's little world. Chapter 4270. After further confirming that the person who saved Ning Yishuan was a supreme expert, Duan Lingtian was able to understand some of Ning Yishuan's previous tricks. The branch from the divine tree of life obviously did not belong to Ning Yishuan himself. The jade slip that he crushed had even attracted the attention of a powerful supreme expert. It seems like he wasn't bragging. He's definitely not an ordinary person to be able to get a supreme expert to leave him with so many life-saving tricks and even break the dimensional battlefield's rules to save him. Duan Lingtian finally understood why Ning Yishuan was so surprised that he had never heard of him. He even seemed unwilling to believe it. A person who could get a supreme expert to help him was definitely not an ordinary person, even in the Ning clan of the Land of Sanctions. Even the current head of the Ning clan, that supreme expert, might not have left him with such life-saving tricks. He's also the strongest lower ultimate god I've ever met. It seems like there are still some monsters in this world that I didn't know about. I can kill a medium ultimate god with the cultivation of a lower ultimate god. There are also upper ultimate gods who can do the same. After fighting with Ning Yishuan, Duan Lingtian was certain that Ning Yishuan's strength was stronger than an ordinary medium ultimate god, even without using the branch from the divine tree of life given to him by a supreme expert. Right now, there are still 2 years before that chaotic region opens. In fact, Duan Lingtian did not know when the chaotic area where multiple planes of gods converged would open after coming out of the single-person secret realm. He only found out when he went to a nearby military camp. He was currently in a military camp in the inner area. There were very few military camps in the inner area, and they were all surrounded by formations. Anyone who left the camp would be concealed by the formations. Therefore, it was extremely difficult to track someone down and kill them. Of course, this also limited the cooperation of some people. This was because no one could walk together after leaving the camp. Even if 2 people were to leave the camp hand in hand, they would be forcibly separated by the outer formation the moment they left the camp. This was a formation left behind by an absolute powerhouse. Even a high god emperor would not have the ability to resist it. After Duan Lingtian obtained the information he wanted, he was about to leave and enter the inner area to search for more fortuitous encounters when he heard a voice calling out to him. Before he had even left, a loud and clear voice rang out beside his ears. It was actually a burly man with a face full of curly beard who was bragging with a grin on his face. The last time I met a beautiful woman in the upper god emperor realm, her looks were really not bad. Most importantly, her daughter was even more peerlessly beautiful, making people drool. It's a pity that she ran away with her daughter in time. Otherwise, I might be able to capture that pair of mother and daughter alive and have them warm my bed together. It's a pity that I didn't make a breakthrough the last time I was in seclusion. If I had become a half-step ultimate god, that mother and daughter pair wouldn't have been able to escape from my grasp. Fourth brother Chio, you've been bragging about this for years. An old man immediately exposed the other party as soon as he spoke. Moreover, every time you used your divine power to create their appearances, yet no one recognized them. You wouldn't have purposely made up a story and created 2 women to deceive us just to brag about it, right? As soon as the old man said that, many people immediately hissed. Some people even chimed in. Fourth brother Chio, stop bragging. I'm sick of hearing it. Why don't you change the story next time? Fourth brother Chio, why don't you create their appearances again? Who knows, maybe someone can recognize them now. The person who said this had a mocking expression on his face. Clearly, he was dismissing the curly-bearded man. However, it was unknown whether the curly-bearded man was really not lying or felt that what the other person said made sense, but he actually used his divine power to sketch out the appearances of the 2 women in the void. They were 2 women with graceful figures and beautiful appearances, especially the younger one. She was so beautiful that it was suffocating. It was as if she could make people fall head over heels for her. Even the beautiful woman had a different kind of charm that made people's hearts flutter. The crowd was silent for a moment before someone laughed and said, Fourth brother Chio, looks like you've really seen such beauties somewhere before. Otherwise, you definitely wouldn't be able to draw them. Fourth brother Chio, I believe you've seen them before. However, I'm not sure if it was in the dimensional battlefield. What a pair of beautiful sisters. If I can get them, it'll be worth it even if I'm killed by the lightning punishment in the next 1,000-year tribulation. Everyone present, including the group of men, was mesmerized by the women that were drawn in the void. More and more people gathered to watch. Even some of the women felt ashamed of their inferiority when they looked at the 2 figures in the sky. Some of them looked envious, and many of them looked jealous. If there was anyone who was calmer than Duan Lingtian right now, it would be none other than him. Duan Lingtian looked at the women in the void. His heart was extremely calm. However, this calmness was formed because his heart had sunk. The reason for that was because she had seen one of the two women drawn by the curly-bearded man before. She was none other than Linghu Chuing. In the profound Handle Land, she was the daughter of Linghu Rinfeng, the younger sister of the head of the Linghu family, Linghu Renjia. At the same time, according to Linghu Renjia, she was also Ker's twin sister. This beautiful woman looks like she's Linghu Rinfeng. This was also the first time Duan Lingtian saw what Linghu Rinfeng looked like. Even in front of Linghu Renjia back then, Linghu Renjia had never drawn his sister's appearance. However, he had seen Linghu Chuing before. She looked exactly the same as Ker. There was almost no difference. Regardless of whether it was in terms of appearance or temperament, there was not much difference. It was also because of this that when he first saw Linghu Chuing back then, he had thought that she was his wife, Ker. Where have you seen them before? Duan Lingtian stepped forward and arrived near the curly-bearded man in the blink of an eye. He stared at him coldly and asked in a quiet voice. When the curly-bearded man heard someone speak to him in such a manner, his first reaction was to frown and reveal a cold expression. However, when he saw Duan Lingtian, he extended his divine sense and probed the powerful divine power that covered the surface of Duan Lingtian's body. His expression instantly returned to normal, and a flattering smile appeared on his face. In that instant, he was certain that the other party was a godly, venerable expert. Even if he was only a lower ultimate god, he was not someone he could afford to offend. He was only a upper-level god emperor who had yet to become a half-step ultimate god. Lord Supreme God. The curly-bearded man hurriedly spoke and said to Duan Lingtian, I met them 5 years ago in the southern part of this military camp, near the edge of the inner circle. Lord, could it be that you know them? The curly-bearded man asked curiously. At the same time, he could not help but feel a little regretful. If he had known earlier, he would not have bragged. Could it be that this person knew the mother and daughter pair and had a good relationship with them? However, on second thought, it was not a big deal even if he knew them. Duan Lingtian could not touch him even if he wanted to. This was a military camp. Even an upper-level god would not dare to touch him, let alone a lower-level god. In the military camp, once someone attacked someone, they would be punished by the formation left behind by a supreme expert. At that time, when the killing formation was activated, even an upper-level god would die. While the others were also looking at Duan Lingtian curiously, Duan Lingtian ignored the curly-bearded man. After glancing at him indifferently, he left the military camp. It was as if he wanted to carve the curly-bearded man's appearance into his heart with that one glance. The curly-bearded man panicked when he saw that. Could it be that he had guessed correctly? However, when he thought that even if Duan Lingtian left the military camp, he would not be able to find him, he felt relieved. Unless he was really unlucky to have met him. Otherwise, this dimensional battlefield was so big that it would be like looking for a needle in a haystack for Duan Lingtian to find him. The others also saw the clues at this time. Could it be that that person knows the mother and daughter pair that Fourth Cho Laosi created? Should be. Otherwise, why would he have such a reaction? Fourth Cho Laosi, looks like you accidentally offended that person just now. That person seems to know the mother and daughter pair, and they might have a good relationship. Actually, it might not be so, right? Maybe that person just now also took a liking to the mother and daughter pair? Haha. If that's really the case, Fourth Cho Laosi should be careful. If that mother and daughter pair did not exist and you can't find them, he might come looking for you when he meets you in the future. Actually, there's no need to worry. The dimensional battlefield is so big. Unless Fourth Cho Laosi is really unlucky, it's very difficult to meet him. That's true. Within the army camp, while many people were still discussing Duan Lingtian had already left the army camp and was walking towards the edge of the inner circle. According to the bearded man, Linghu Renfeng was now a high god emperor, but her strength was not as strong as his. 5 years ago, she was wandering around the edge of the inner circle. Now, she might still be there. High god emperors were not weak in the dimensional battlefield, but they were definitely not strong either. Rashly entering the inner circle, it could be said that 9 out of 10 people would die. She came here to find Ker, She will either wander around the edge of the inner circle or the outer circle. For the next year, I will wander around the edge of the inner circle and see if I can find them. Although he had not met Linghu Rinfeng face-to-face in the past, Linghu Rinfeng had personally come to him to give him a half-soul high-grade god artifact. Furthermore, Linghu Rinfeng might be Ker's mother in her previous life, so he could not personally see Linghu Rinfeng in danger, especially when she was in danger now, and it was because of Ker. Ker was his wife. She could be considered his mother-in-law. He had the responsibility to find her, send her out, and tell her that all she needed to do was to stay and look for Ker. Let's see how lucky I am. Of course, Duan Lingtian also knew that in such a huge dimensional battlefield, wanting to find a person was like looking for a needle in a haystack. It could only depend on luck. Chapter 4271. Now, there were only 2 years left until the chaotic region formed by the intersection of many realms of gods opened. Duan Lingtian did not have much time left. Spending a year to find Linghu Ranfeng and Linghu Chuyin was more or less enough. He could not spend any more time because he still had to make preparations for the opening of the chaotic region. Moreover, if he could not find them in a year, he might not be able to find them in 2 years. Most importantly, when the chaotic region opened in 2 years, Linghu Rinfeng might also bring Linghu Chuyin there. In the following year, Duan Lingtian began to wander around the periphery of the inner area, focusing on finding Linghu Rinfeng. Occasionally, he would encounter people from the sanctioned lands, but he could not be bothered to kill them. Time passed quietly. Day after day passed, but Duan Lingtian did not find anything. He even suspected whether Linghu Rinfeng had entered the inner area or returned to the periphery, waiting for the chaotic region to open before entering the inner area. Ker entered the realm battlefield because she wants to become stronger and recover her previous life's strength as soon as possible. She will definitely go to the chaotic region. Up until now, Duan Lingtian had only heard of Ker's whereabouts twice. One of the times was when he heard someone from the Xia family mention Ker and said that he had met Ker. However, Ker did not go with him. The other time was when a distant relative of the Xia family saw Ker and recognized Ker. However, Ker did not have much interaction with him. The two of them did not know where Ker went after that. Looks like I can only go to the chaotic region to see if I can find them successfully. At this moment, Duan Lingtian was not only looking for Ku but also Linghu Rinfeng and Linghu Chuyin. After all, it was not safe for them to stay in the realm battlefield. Battlefield of the God's Judgment. In a military camp, a figure appeared. The moment he appeared, many people recognized him and exclaimed, "It's Ning family's young master Ning Yishuan. It really is young master Ning Yishuan. Young master Ning Yishuan, when did you leave? Now, you've come in again?" Young master Ning Yishuan is definitely here for the chaotic region that will open a year later. This time, he should be able to enter the medium ultimate god realm, right? I've long heard that young master Ning Yishuan is very close to becoming a medium ultimate god. He'll most likely be able to step into the medium ultimate god realm during the opening of the chaotic region and become the youngest medium ultimate god in our sanctioned land. It's said that young master Ning Yishuan has the potential to become the second supreme expert of the Ning clan. After Ning Yishuan entered, he heard a group of people from the land of sanctions greeting him. Moreover, their words were all flattering and praising him. If it was before, Ning Yishuan would be secretly happy about this, but on the surface, he would have a natural attitude, as if he was used to it. However, when he heard these words today, he felt somewhat irritated and his heart was filled with anxiety. If these people knew that he was defeated by a guy who was not even 1,000 years old a year ago, would they still be praising him like this? If these people knew that the guy who defeated him was not a native of a plane of gods, but a nobody from a mundane realm, perhaps they would not be praising him like this. Instead, they would think that he was a piece of trash. Duan Lingtian. Although it had been a year since he left the realm battlefield and the Ning clan's ancestor had advised him to adjust his mentality, how could he adjust his mentality in such a short time? Since the last battle, the name Duan Lingtian had been like a nightmare that coiled around his heart. He could not let it go. At that time, if he had not used the branch from the divine tree of life given to him by the ancestor to block Duan Lingtian's space law clone, he would have most likely lost. Even so, he was still defeated and almost killed. After all, Duan Lingtian had a complete divine tree of life in his body. If he had not used the life-saving method left behind by the ancestor, he would have died. Ning Yishuan knew that even if he had the profound divine metal, he would not have been a match for Duan Lingtian without the branch from the divine tree of life given to him by the ancestor. Most importantly, Duan Lingtian was not weak at all. Duan Lingtian was not even 1,000 years old. Moreover, he was from the lowest mundane realm in the lower realm. Ning Yishuan's life had been smooth sailing for thousands of years. No one could compare to him. His peers could only eat his dust. However, in front of Duan Lingtian, Ning Yishuan, who was dazzling in the Ning clan and even in the land of punishment, had become a joke. It was the biggest joke in the world. The number one genius of the younger generation in the land of punishment? That's just a joke. Until now, Ning Yishuan's state of mind was still somewhat broken, and he had not completely recovered. A year's time was not short, but it was definitely not long either. I'll strive to enter the medium ultimate God realm as soon as possible. At that time, if the profound divine metal recovers, even without the branch from the divine tree of life given to me by the ancestor, I might not be weaker than Duan Lingtian. Ning Yishuan was still comforting himself. At this moment, he had deliberately forgotten the age difference between him and Duan Lingtian. Of course, it was only for a moment. After a while, he could not help but think about it. At the same time, he felt depressed and could not calm down for a long time. Duan Lingtian naturally did not know that Ning Yishuan had entered the battlefield of the divine judgment again. He also did not know that Ning Yishuan's mentality had collapsed because of their previous battle. Currently, he had spent a whole year looking for Kerr and Kerr's mother, Linghu Ranfeng, but to no avail. At this time, he had temporarily given up. Maybe it'll be easier to find them when the chaotic area opens. Thinking of this, he prepared to enter the inner area and find a secluded place to cultivate in seclusion. He would sort out his cultivation during this period of time and allow the 7 orifices exquisite sword to fuse with the embryo of the supreme divine tool faster. Along the way, Duan Lingtian had encountered some people from the divine offering land and the sanctioned land. Duan Lingtian ignored the people from the divine offering land. There was not a single lower ultimate god in the sanctioned land, so he ignored them. On the other hand, when the people from the sanctioned land saw him, they were so scared that their faces turned as white as a sheet of paper. After Duan Lingtian walked for a while, another person appeared in front of him. This person was from the divine offering land. Originally, Duan Lingtian planned to ignore him. However, when he got closer and saw the other party's appearance clearly, his eyes flickered. Then, he teleported a second time and directly appeared in front of the person, blocking his way. Whoosh! The person who was blocked had a drastic change of expression. His pupils shrank rapidly and he looked flustered. However, when he realized that the person who blocked his way was also emitting the same light as him, he was secretly relieved. They were all from the divine offering land, so they should not make things difficult for him. Moreover, the person was obviously an ultimate god expert, so he should not make things difficult for him. Master, as soon as he spoke, he felt that the person looked familiar as if he had seen him somewhere before, but he could not recall where. Do you have something to ask me? Master, if you have any questions, please ask. I'll tell you everything I know. The person who was blocked by Duan Lingtian was none other than the curly-bearded man who boasted in front of a group of people that he almost kidnapped Linghu Ranfeng and Linghu Chuin in an inner-area military camp that Duan Lingtian visited a year ago. However, a year had passed, and he had only seen Duan Lingtian briefly, so the curly-bearded man did not have a deep impression of Duan Lingtian. Of course, now that he felt that Duan Lingtian looked familiar, he did have some impression of Duan Lingtian, but he could not recall who Duan Lingtian was. A year ago, we met in a military camp. Duan Lingtian looked at the curly-bearded man in front of him calmly and said indifferently, "That time, you said that you almost got a mother and daughter pair." As soon as Duan Lingtian said that, the curly-bearded man was stunned at first. Then, the blurry memory from a year ago suddenly became clear. At the same time, he finally remembered why he found the person in front of him familiar. The person in front of him was the ultimate god expert who asked him where he had met the mother and daughter pair a year ago. Master. After remembering who the person was, the curly-bearded man immediately panicked. Lousy, like to brag. What I told them was all lies. I don't have such intentions. I really don't have such intentions. Although he was not sure what the relationship between the person in front of him and the mother and daughter pair was, he still felt that the person did not have good intentions and subconsciously began to save himself. Do you know who they are? Duan Lingtian ignored the curly-bearded man and asked him with a smile. The curly-bearded man heard and shook his head. I don't know, but, Master, I really don't have any thoughts about them. I was just bragging. Moreover, I didn't lie to you. I really did see them at the edge of the inner area. Master, I didn't lie to you. I really didn't lie to you. At that moment, the curly-bearded man was completely flustered. They are my mother-in-law and sister-in-law. Duan Lingtian's expression was still calm, and his tone was still indifferent. However, when those words fell into the curly-bearded man's ears, it was no different from a bolt from the blue. That mother and daughter pair were the mother-in-law and sister-in-law of this ultimate god expert in front of him? At that moment, the curly-bearded man's mentality collapsed. At the same time, his expression changed drastically. At the same time, he released his divine energy and the power of law as he planned to escape at once. However, as soon as he moved, he realized that he was imprisoned in a confined space. The terrifying confined space originated from the law of space. Even when he attacked with the full force of his divine weapon, it only caused the confined space to tremble slightly. However, there were no signs of it being broken at all. Master, please spare my life. Master, I have no intention of offending your mother-in-law and sister-in-law. End of chapter. Chapter 4272. Even if the bearded man knew he was not lying or boasting, he could not help but admit that he was boasting. What a joke. Now that the ultimate god expert in front of him had said they were his mother-in-law and sister-in-law, he would be digging his own grave if he still insisted that he was not boasting. However, even though he was boasting, it was obvious that the other party was not going to let him go so easily. Master, I'm really just boasting. When the bearded man saw that he was still unable to break free from the spatial profundities binding him even after using his bloodline power, despair filled his heart, but he still continued to explain. In his opinion, his last straw of hope was whether or not the other party was willing to believe him. How strong were they when you met them? Duan Lingtian stared calmly at the bearded man and asked indifferently. When the curly-bearded man heard this, he quickly said, When I first met them, there were only 2 of them. However, when they discovered me, your mother-in-law took your sister-in-law into her little world. Therefore, I'm not sure how strong your sister-in-law is, Master. As for your mother-in-law, she should have just consolidated her cultivation base in the Upper Divine Emperor realm not long ago. The bearded man seemed to have recalled something and hurriedly continued. However, when she attacked, I told her I meant no harm. After that, I left on my own. After all, she's from the Divine Offering Land just like me. We might have a chance to work together in the future, so there's no need for us to kill each other. What the bearded man said was, of course, half true and half false. The front part was true while the back part was false. In fact, when he first met the 2 of them, even if they were from the Divine Offering Land, he was still attracted to them. After all, the mother and daughter were definitely the most beautiful women he had ever met in his life in terms of appearance and temperament. As a man, how could he not be attracted to them? At that time, when he wanted to capture the 2 of them, the mother hid her daughter into her little world and started to escape. She was lucky enough to escape from him. As for him, he was unable to catch up to her because his cultivation base had not reached the half-step ultimate god realm. That was the reason why he could not let it go. He was so close to entering the half-step ultimate god realm. He had already entered the half-step ultimate god realm and thought he would be safe even if he was alone in the inner region. However, he didn't expect to meet the person in front of him. My lord, everything I said is true. I'm definitely not lying to you. The bearded man looked at the purple-clothed youth in front of him. Although his face was serious, the depths of his eyes were filled with apprehension. He couldn't help but feel nervous. Now, his life and death were in the hands of the other party. And the current Duan Lingtian, after hearing the words of the curly-bearded man, muttered to himself in a low voice, "He has already consolidated his cultivation of Upper Divine Lord Realm? That's good. In the inner region, as long as you keep a low profile, you should be able to protect yourself." Although he had yet to meet his mother-in-law, he felt that she was definitely not a reckless person. Otherwise, she would not have been able to survive until today. After all, his mother-in-law was from the Linghu clan, which was considered mediocre among the forces in the realms of gods. To be able to survive until today, she was definitely not an ordinary person. Moreover, after meeting the person in front of him previously, she must be more vigilant now. When Duan Ling Tian thought of this, the worry in his heart lessened slightly. However, his gaze towards the curly-bearded man grew colder and colder. The bearded man's expression changed again when he sensed Duan Lingtian's gaze. My lord, however, just as he was about to speak, he suddenly stopped. This was because the space windstorm suddenly raged in the confinement space, forcing him to divert his attention to defend himself. He did not have the time to speak to Duan Lingtian. On the other hand, Duan Lingtian looked at the bearded man who was busy defending himself in the confinement space. He calmly raised his hand and casually pointed a finger at the bearded man. In the next moment, the lower ultimate god divine energy, the space law that had yet to be fully displayed, and the sword principle turned into a sword ray that pierced into the confinement space. As the space law had yet to be fully displayed, the 100,000-mile heaven and earth phenomenon did not appear. For the bearded man, the confinement space's barrier was extremely tough and could not be broken through. However, it was useless in front of the sword ray from Duan Ling Tian's finger. In the next moment, the sword ray entered the confinement space. No. On the other hand, the curly-bearded man noticed Duan Ling Tian's attack as well, and he emitted a miserable howl that tore through the sky and seemed to be extremely horrifying. At this moment, he could barely fend for himself and did not have the energy to defend himself against the sword ray. Spurt. The sword ray broke through the bearded man's body and bloomed. In an instant, the bearded man's body was shredded into pieces, leaving behind a cloud of blood that drifted in the air before completely evaporating. Only a divine artifact was left behind and fell from the sky. Duan Lingtian casually put away the divine artifact and glanced sideways. Unknowingly, a young man had brought an old man to the vicinity. Judging from the dim light on their bodies, they were obviously from the world of divine remains. We're both from the world of divine remains. Why did you kill him? The young man stood there and frowned at Duan Lingtian. He asked in a deep voice, moreover, he's only a higher ultimate god. You're already a lower ultimate god. What's in it for you to kill him? Judging from the turbulent divine energy on the young man, he was obviously a lower ultimate god. Like Duan Lingtian, he was a lower ultimate god who had yet to consolidate his cultivation base. As for the old man behind the young man, he was a medium ultimate god. A medium ultimate god who had consolidated his cultivation base. Perhaps that was why the young man dared to question Duan Lingtian when he saw Duan Lingtian indiscriminately killing his compatriots. After all, in his eyes, Duan Lingtian was just a lower ultimate god like him. Even if he was not as good as Duan Lingtian, the old man behind him could easily suppress Duan Lingtian. Faced with the young man's question, Duan Lingtian glanced at him indifferently and said unhurriedly, "Is it any of your business who I kill?" Duan Lingtian's words angered the young man. "What's with your attitude? You're in the wrong. Now, you're saying it has nothing to do with me? I'm also from the world of divine remains. If you're really that powerful, why don't you kill me too?" The young man sneered as he spoke. Young man. Before Duan Lingtian could speak, the old man behind the young man spoke first. He stared coldly at Duan Lingtian. "You've crossed the line. We're all from the world of divine remains. If our cultivation bases are the same, it's understandable that you killed him for the reward. However, he's only a higher ultimate god. You won't gain anything by killing him. Don't tell me you're doing this for his divine weapon." The old man's eyes turned cold as he spoke. Why? Do you know him? Duan Lingtian asked as he stared at the old man. Before the old man and the young man could speak, Duan Lingtian continued, if you know him and want to avenge him, you can just do it. Why are you wasting time here? If you don't know him, this has nothing to do with you. If you want to fight for justice and enforce justice on behalf of the heavens, you can also attack me. Duan Lingtian's eyes left the old man and glanced at the young man. His tone was as indifferent as before. It was as though he did not show any emotion from the beginning until the end. Duan Lingtian no longer paid any attention to the two young men after he finished speaking. With a sway of his body, he prepared to teleport away. However, as soon as he tried to teleport away, he discovered that the space around him was unstable. He could not teleport at all. Duan Lingtian's eyes instantly landed on the young man. His originally calm gaze turned cold in an instant. You really want to stop me? The young man glanced at Duan Lingtian coldly when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. So what if I stop you? When you killed the people from the divine offering land, you should have thought about the possibility of being killed by them one day. Today, I, Yun Qingpeng, will represent the Yun clan to kill you for killing your own people. The young man said coldly as a spatial storm appeared around him. It was obvious he was skilled in the law of space as well. Due to this, he was able to interfere with Duan Lingtian's teleportation earlier. Yun clan? Yun Qingpeng? Duan Lingtian was stunned when he heard the young man's words. Then, an expression of shock appeared on his face. Yun Qingyan? What's your relationship with him? He's my cousin. The young man sneered. What? You're not going to tell me that you know my cousin, are you? It's useless even if you know him. You'll definitely die today. As soon as the young man finished speaking, a 4-foot-long saber appeared in his hand. A soul could be vaguely seen on the saber. The saber gleamed coldly as though it was indestructible. Duan Lingtian looked at the young man deeply. If I told you that the person I killed earlier had a grudge against me, and that's why I killed him, would you think it's pardonable and not hold it against me now? It doesn't matter if he has a grudge against you or not, you'll still die, the young man said coldly. I understand now. Duan Lingtian smiled as he came to a sudden understanding. I was wondering, could it be that the members of the Yun clan are so different? Some of them hold their heads high and are arrogant for their entire lives. Yet there are also some that bemoan the state of the universe and pity the fate of mankind, and like to do justice for the heavens. Now, it seems like it's just an excuse. They're all jackals of the same tribe. In fact, Duan Lingtian had only asked the young man this because he wanted to see if the young man was really compassionate and seeking justice on behalf of the heavens. Now, it seemed like the young man was just looking for an excuse to kill Duan Lingtian. Perhaps, even if the young man did not see him kill Duan Lingtian, he would not have shown mercy when he encountered him. The people from the Yun clan were all jackals of the same tribe. It seems like you're not my cousin's friend. Yun Qingpeng could not help but sneer when he heard that. The young man had said that he was arrogant and haughty. Was that not the character of his cousin, Yun Qingyan? Even Yun Qingpeng himself was no different from a grandson in front of his cousin. You're very lucky. You'll be my first whetstone after I become a lower ultimate god. Yun Qingpeng shouted coldly as his body moved with his saber. The spatial windstorm condensed and turned into a saber ray that continued to expand. Finally, it seemed like it was going to break through the heavens and the earth. Chapter 42-73. Yun Qingpeng made his move. The space windstorm condensed into a gigantic saber light that slashed through the air with terrifying power. He stared into Duan Lingtian's eyes as though he was looking at a dead man. Although the old man behind Yun Qingpeng did not attack together with him, he stood by the side to support Yun Qingpeng. His divine power was stirred up. The old man was a medium ultimate god elder in the Yun clan. He was also Yun Qingpeng's father, the second master of the Yun clan. Although he was already a medium ultimate god when he entered with Yun Qingpeng 800 years ago, he had yet to consolidate his cultivation base completely. It was not until some time ago that he had an opportunity to successfully consolidate his cultivation base and improve his strength to the next level. In his opinion, even if his young master was no match for the purple-clad young man who was also a lower ultimate god, He could easily suppress the purple-clad young man. By then, he could either kill him or let his young master kill him. After all, they had the other party completely under their control. At this moment, Duan Tian smiled disdainfully at Yun Qingpeng, who had attacked him. Even your cousin, Yun Qingyin, has to behave himself in front of me, let alone you. Duan Tian made his move as soon as he finished speaking. Of course, he remained motionless on the spot, while his space law doppelganger attacked with his sword. He had been waiting for a long time to unleash his power. The saber light dimmed where the sword light pointed. Whoosh! The sharp sword pierced through the air and caused the void to tremble. Countless tiny spatial cracks appeared. At the same time, the heaven and earth vision of 100,000 miles appeared. Whoosh! The sword light was like the waves of the sea. Wherever it passed, the saber light was extinguished like a flame being extinguished by water. At the same time, it continued to envelop Yun Qingpeng. Yun Qingpeng's attack was shocking, as though his saber could split heaven and earth. However, at that moment, his power was not worth mentioning in front of Duan Tian's space law doppelganger's power. Overpowered. Completely overpowered. No. When Yun Qingpeng came to his senses, his expression changed drastically. He wanted to teleport away but realized that the space was affected by the space energy and could not teleport at all. Duan Tian? He was good at the space law. Even Yun Qingpeng could affect Duan Tian's teleportation. There was no doubt that Duan Tian could stop him from teleporting away. Elder Yunzhang? Save me! Yun Qingpeng shouted anxiously. At that moment, he could feel that death's approach. Even though he had activated his bloodline power and infused it into his attacks, he was still unable to withstand the attack head-on. At that moment, he felt that he was not facing a lower ultimate god at all. He was a top existence among the top experts among the lower gods. Even when compared to his cousin, he was not a Ling Tian. Coupled with the fact that the other party had mentioned his cousin again, he was almost certain that his cousin was not as good as the other party. Otherwise, he would not. Yun. He's elders. He wanted to save the other party. However, just as he was about to move, he was stopped by another figure who had moved ahead of him. It was Duan Tian himself. Due to the urgency of the situation, Yun Zhang did not dare to hesitate at all. He immediately unleashed his full strength. Flames raged in the sky as the divine Venerate silhouette appeared. The divine Venerate silhouette that was more than 100 meters tall charged toward Duan Tian. At the same time, it moved to save Yun Qingpeng. In order to save Yun Qingpeng, he used his divine weapon, a pair of meteor hammers. The meteor hammers shot out with a terrifying might, blocking the sword light of Duan Tian's law avatar that was about to kill Yun Qingpeng. The sword light was shattered, and Yun Qingpeng was saved from danger. I didn't think that you would be so powerful. However, no matter how powerful you are, you still aren't a match for Elder Yunzhang. After Yun Qingpeng averted the danger, the fear on his face disappeared and was replaced by indifference and disdain. At the same time, he wanted to mock Duan Tian. However, before he could finish speaking, he stopped. This was because in the next moment, he saw Duan Tian's main body transforming into a sword. The seven-colored sword light shot up into the sky and pierced through the foot of Supreme God Yunzhang's illusory avatar. Then, before Yunzhang could retract his attack to save himself, an even more terrifying power exploded and directly annihilated Yunzhang's Supreme God image. Impossible! Yunzhang's shocked and disbelieving voice was heard. In the next moment, his Supreme God image was completely annihilated. His entire body turned into ashes. At the same time, a huge illusory figure rose into the sky and let out an unwilling cry before crashing to the ground. A medium ultimate god had fallen just like that. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. Yunzhang had just saved Yun Qingpeng and died in the next moment. In fact, if he did not save Yun Qingpeng, even if he was no match for Duan Tian's main body, he could still hold on for a while if he gave it his all and concentrated. However, he had underestimated Duan Tian and saved Yun Qingpeng, causing him to walk into a dead end. He was almost killed by Duan Tian's main body with a single blow. No. Impossible. Impossible. Yun Xingpeng's mocking smile towards Duan Lingtian completely disappeared and was replaced by a pale face that was trembling nonstop. Even his body was trembling. What did he just see? Yun Zhang, a medium ultimate god who had completely consolidated his cultivation base, was killed by a single blow. Even if Yun Zhang's carelessness played a part, was this not too ridiculous? This lower ultimate god was just like him. He had just entered the lower ultimate god realm and had not even consolidated his divine power. However, in the blink of an eye, he had killed a medium ultimate god who had consolidated his cultivation base. Yun Xingpeng felt his soul trembling at that moment. A lower ultimate god like that would be as rare as a phoenix's feather or a unicorn's horn even in the various divine planes. However, he had encountered one today. Moreover, he had taken the initiative to provoke him. If he could turn back time, Yun Xingpeng felt that he would never provoke him again even if he was given 1,000 times more courage. Initially, he had wanted to fight with Duan Lingtian, who had just entered the lower ultimate god realm, and use him as a stepping stone. However, he did not expect to lose the medium ultimate god who was guarding him in the blink of an eye. What a strong bond between a master and his servant. Duan Lingtian chuckled as his law avatar returned to his body. He flew out and came in front of Yun Xingpeng as he stared deeply at him. He wouldn't have died so quickly if he didn't save you. Yun Xingpeng was so frightened that he took a few steps back when he saw Duan Lingtian approaching him. His face was pale as he asked in a trembling voice, Who are you? The man who almost killed your cousin, Yun Xingyin. Duan Lingtian smiled faintly before he said with a regretful expression, It's a pity that your Yun clan leader left him a way out. Otherwise, he would have died earlier than you. His words were tantamount to sentencing Yun Xingpeng to death. Initially, Yun Xingpeng was wondering if he could threaten Duan Lingtian by mentioning the Yun clan, a giant ultimate god family in the divine offering land, so Duan Lingtian would not dare to kill him. However, Duan Lingtian's words sent a chill down his spine as he realized Duan Lingtian was not afraid of the Yun clan. Your Excellency, Yun Xingpeng took a deep breath and tried to suppress his fear. You won't get much out of killing me. If you're willing to spare my life, I can help you kill Yun Xingyin. Since you've attacked him before, I'm sure Yun Xingyin and my uncle must be very careful now. It'll be difficult for you to find an opportunity to attack Yun Xingyin again. If you spare my life today, I can repay you with Yun Xingyin's life. I'll help you kill him. He will be wary of others, but he won't be wary of me at all. With my help, it won't be difficult for you to kill him. The more Yun Xingpeng spoke, the calmer he became. At the same time, a hint of fanaticism could be seen in the depths of his eyes. If he could kill Yun Xingyin, there would only be benefits and no disadvantages. Yun Xingyin was a vengeful person. Yun Xingpeng had offended Yun Xingyin because of a small matter when he was a child, and Yun Xingyin had held a grudge against him ever since. If he was not the son of Yun Xingyin's uncle, the second master of the Yun clan, he might have been killed by Yun Xingyin a long time ago. Even so, Yun Xingyin did not like him and would humiliate him whenever he had the chance. Even if Yun Xingyin died, the position of the Yun family patriarch would not fall into his hands. After all, his uncle, who was the patriarch of the Yun family, still had other sons. However, if Yun Xingyin died, he would be happier than anyone else. At the very least, he would not be bullied like a grandson anymore. It seems like you don't have a good relationship with Yun Xingyin. Duan Lingtian had planned to kill Yun Xingpeng. However, when he heard Yun Xingpeng's words and saw the fanaticism in the depths of his eyes, it was not difficult for him to figure out what Yun Xingpeng was thinking. He could tell that Yun Xingpeng was not lying. Yun Xingpeng's emotions were most likely real. If this was all fake, then Yun Xingpeng was too good at acting. To be honest with you, sir, Yun Xingpeng said in a deep voice, I can't wait for Yun Xingyin to die. If you're confident you can kill him, I don't mind creating an opportunity for you. Of course, I'm also afraid of death. I'll only help you after I find an opportunity to escape unscathed. I won't hide this from you. I won't lie to you, Yun Xingpeng said. Upon hearing this, Duan Lingtian's eyes gleamed. Then, he smiled faintly. Interesting. In that case, let's exchange soul pearls so we can contact each other when we return to the divine offering land. All right. Yun Xingpeng's eyes lit up when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. He knew his life was saved. At the same time, he realized Duan Lingtian really wanted to kill Yun Qingyan. How did Yun Qingyan offend Duan Lingtian? Yun Xingpeng's heart was filled with curiosity about this. However, he was not surprised. After all, with Yun Qingyan's character, it was normal for him to offend someone. Chapter 4274. Although Duan Lingtian wanted to kill Yun Xingpeng, Yun Xingpeng's desire to live made him think it was better to keep Yun Xingpeng alive than to kill him. Even if Yun Xingpeng's hostility toward Yun Qingyan was just an act, he would only have to kill one lesser ultimate god. The death of a lesser ultimate god would only bring him limited rewards. Even if he could obtain a divine weapon, he did not lack any ordinary divine weapons. Even if Yun Xingpeng was only willing to help him kill Yun Qingyan, Duan Lingtian would let him go. Even if Yun Xingpeng was willing to help him, he would still let Yun Xingpeng go. To Duan Lingtian, Yun Xingpeng's life was not important. However, Yun Xingpeng was on his kill list. One day, he would kill Yun Qingyan. It did not matter who was behind Yun Qingyan or what force he belonged to. Duan Lingtian's original intention would not change. I'll look for a military camp and leave now. You can contact me when you return to the Divine Offering Land. I should have a plan to lure Yun Qingyan out by then. After reaching an agreement with Duan Lingtian, Yun Xingpeng was no longer afraid of Duan Lingtian. He smiled before he turned around and left. Although Duan Lingtian seemed free and easy, his back was drenched in cold sweat. Duan Lingtian watched Yun Xingpeng leave calmly. He did not say a word from the beginning until the end. To him, it was not a big deal if Yun Xingpeng went back on his word. It would be a pleasant surprise if Yun Xingpeng kept his word and helped him. Next, I'll look for a place to cultivate in seclusion. The chaotic zone will open in a year. At that time, I'll not only have to face people from the Divine Offering Land and the Land of Punishment, but people from the other realms of gods as well. Duan Lingtian muttered to himself after Yun Xingpeng's figure disappeared from his sight. Naturally, there was no Xingang land in the other realms of gods. I wonder how Ke is doing now. Thinking of this, Duan Lingtian felt a sense of loss. Although there was no way to confirm whether his wife Ke was dead or alive, because Ke's soul orb had already lost its effect with the passage of time, there was no way to determine whether she was dead or alive. However, he had a strong premonition. Ke must still be alive. However, he didn't know how Ke was doing now. Once the chaotic realm opened, as long as Ke was in the God's Judgment battlefield, he was almost certain that Ke would definitely go there. After all, Ke's purpose in coming here was to become stronger. He wouldn't miss such a good opportunity. Therefore, Duan Lingtian was now focused on the Chaos Zone that would open a year later. At the same time, deep in his heart, he also hoped to meet Ke there and reunite with her. Not long after separating from Yun Xingpeng, Duan Lingtian finally found a place that he was satisfied with. He began to cultivate in seclusion, waiting for the opening of the chaotic region a year later. Currently, Duan Lingtian only needed to focus on improving his cultivation base in the four daos of heaven and earth. With the Supreme Divinity constantly increasing his understanding of the law of space through his soul, there was no need for him to spend any extra effort. This was a good thing that only happened to him after he became a divine venerable. Huang I'm going to cultivate in seclusion for a year. In this year, you'll focus on smelting the 7 embryos of the supreme divine weapons, and strive to improve the 7 orifices exquisite sword. Before going into seclusion, Duan Lingtian reminded Huang Huang immediately responded, Master, Huang understands. I'll definitely give you a pleasant surprise in a year's time. Huang said seriously, Master. At the same time, another soft voice sounded. It was the sword soul of the supreme divine weapon that Duan Lingtian's avatar used. If you and Sister Huang don't mind, I can also help the 7 orifices exquisite sword refine the embryos of the supreme divine weapons. Helping me refine the embryos will consume a lot of your energy. Before Duan Lingtian could speak, Huang spoke first. Whether I'm at my peak or not, my help to master is limited. Sister Huang on the other hand, upgrading the 7 orifices exquisite sword will be of greater help to master. Naturally, Duan Lingtian could guess what the sword soul of the other divine weapon was thinking when he heard what it said. It wanted nothing more than to curry favor with him. After all, although he had many supreme divine weapons in his possession, most of them had lost their weapon souls when their owners died and became ordinary supreme divine weapons. He couldn't be bothered to spend the effort to suppress and subdue the supreme divine weapons that still had their weapon souls. Therefore, under such circumstances, as long as there were no accidents, the Seven Orifices exquisite sword would become a supreme divine weapon in the future. Duan Lingtian's next step would naturally be to upgrade its original divine weapon. Since you're willing, you can help Huang or refine the embryos of the supreme divine weapons with the Seven Orifices exquisite sword. Duan Lingtian said indifferently. Although he knew what the sword soul was thinking, he didn't point it out. Besides, this was a good thing for him, not a bad thing. If the two sword souls worked together to refine the embryos of the supreme divine weapons for the Seven Orifices exquisite sword, it would definitely be more efficient than Huang alone. Yes, master. The sword spirit responded, and his tone became more respectful. The battlefield of the Gods' Inquisition. The inner area. A little further into the inner area, at the foot of a towering mountain, there was an inconspicuous cave hidden behind many vines. If someone came nearby and used their divine sense to investigate, they would definitely discover that there were several layers of formations set up above the vines. At this moment, behind the formations, there were two figures hiding in the depths of the cave. Ener, you shouldn't have come with me. An elegant and beautiful woman sat cross-legged on a bed in the depths of the cave. She looked at the young and beautiful woman beside her and sighed. The battlefield of the Gods' Inquisition is too dangerous after all, especially the inner region. Last time, if I hadn't left quickly, we might have been captured by the Upper God Emperor from the Divine Offering Land. At this point, the beautiful woman's eyes were still filled with fear. Last time, she and her daughter had almost been captured by a bearded man who had come from the Divine Offering Land like them. Judging from the other party's intentions, it was obvious that he had come with ill intentions. If they fell into his hands, they would definitely not end well. Mother, the young woman shook her head. It's precisely because I know that this place is dangerous that I want to follow you. Mother, if anything happens to you, even if Chuyin isn't by your side, I won't live to see another day. Upon hearing this, the beautiful woman's face was filled with heartache, but there was also guilt in the depths of her eyes. As her other daughter had not been by her side since young, she had given double the love and care for her daughter. As a result, she rarely cut ties with outsiders and was especially reliant on her. Now, it seemed that all this was not a good thing for her daughter. Forget it, the beautiful woman sighed. Anyway, 100 years won't make much of a difference. If we can't find your sister within 100 years, we'll have to leave this place. I only hope that she's still alive and well. The beautiful woman said, Mother, don't worry. Sister will definitely be fine. The young woman comforted her. In the Divine Offering Land, the Xia family. Xia Yu had just returned from the old site of the Ling family. He had acted together with the patriarch of the Yun family to seal his daughter, Xianing Shui, in a spatial tunnel in the old site of the Ling family. Although he looked calm, there was guilt in the depths of his eyes. Shui, I'm sorry. I owe you too much. Xia Yu sighed. I'll make it up to you in the future. I promise. Ever since his daughter's previous life, although he did not seem to care about his daughter on the surface, in fact, he cared a lot about her in his heart. However, he was worried that if he cared too much, it would make others feel unbalanced. For example, his current wife. He could not be by his daughter's side all the time. Therefore, he could only protect his daughter in this way. However, he did not expect his daughter to be so staunch. In order to break the engagement, she actually gave up her life and chose the almost certain death path of reincarnation. Before that, even he thought that the so-called reincarnation was just a legend. Although it was a secret method passed down in the Xia family since ancient times, even the supreme expert of the Xia family himself said that the secret method was not necessarily true. In the history of the Xia family, many people used the secret method when they were about to fail the heavenly tribulation. However, none of them successfully reincarnated. Therefore, When his daughter chose the path back then, he also thought that his daughter would not succeed. However, he did not expect that a few decades later, he would hear the news that his daughter was still alive. Originally, he did not want to allow his daughter to be kidnapped by her previous life's engagement. However, the master of the Yun family had used the safety of the powerful cultivator behind the Xia family as a threat, forcing him, the master of the Xia family, to make a choice between the Xia family and his daughter. At that time, he chose the family. He gave up the small to choose the big. Until a few days ago, when he found out that his daughter had been stopped by the Yun family at the entrance of the Xia family and had vowed to die, he felt guilty and decided that he would no longer be threatened by the patriarch of the Yun family. This time, he would choose his daughter. However, he did not expect that the patriarch of the Yun family would take the initiative to cancel the engagement and no longer threaten his daughter. At the same time, although he had threatened him again, he had only threatened his daughter's freedom for 1,000 years. In his opinion, that was a small matter that was not even worth mentioning. As for his daughter's husband in this life, he had looked down on him from the beginning. He felt that he had cheated his daughter. Until he found out from the patriarch of the Yun family about the achievements of his son-in-law. Although he was shocked, he did not have any feelings for him. Compared to the supreme expert of the Xia family, it seemed insignificant. Therefore, he was once again threatened by the patriarch of the Yun family. So much so that he and the patriarch of the Yun family had sealed up his daughter in order to help the Yun family lure out his son-in-law after the dimensional battlefield closed. End of chapter. Chapter 4275. In this world, there were a total of 18 realms of gods. Usually, there would be 9 realms of gods that intersected. Every 100 years, there would be a period of 10 years when the 9 realms of gods would be divided into 3 groups and intersected to form a chaotic zone where people from 6 realms of gods would coexist. In other words, there would be 3 chaotic zones. In each chaotic zone, people from 6 realms of gods would coexist. In these 3 chaotic zones, it was said that there were more and better opportunities left behind by supreme experts. If one could obtain great opportunities in these chaotic zones, it was possible for one to soar into the sky. Therefore, when the chaotic zone opened, not only would a group of godly venerable experts enter, but most of the god emperors would also enter. Multi-source app. Mimi read even when the chaotic zone opened in the inner area of the realms of gods, there were still many god emperors who entered to take the risk. Most of these god emperors were eager to become stronger. Among them, many of them were those who did not have much confidence in facing the next heavenly tribulation. They wanted to further increase their strength before the heavenly tribulation arrived, so as to reduce the risk of being seriously injured or dying in the heavenly tribulation. They had cultivated to their level and lived for tens of thousands of years. Naturally, they would not be willing to die in the face of death. Living in this world was a fight against the heavens. Unless they did not break through to a higher cultivation base, they would not face the heavenly tribulation and would not be in danger. However, how many talented people would be willing to stay at a lower cultivation base? The profound Zen battlefield. It was also the realms of gods where the profound gangland and the pilgrimage grounds intersected. When the chaotic zone opened, there was also a zone in the inner area of the profound Zen battlefield that intersected with the other 2 realms of gods. The people from 6 realms of gods gathered together. When the chaotic zone opened, the people from the 3 realms of gods swarmed in like a swarm of bees. Of course, it was more of a swarm of bees than a swarm of bees. Since the realms of gods were very big, the inner area was very vast. Even if a group of people entered, it would not be very lively. I wonder how little junior brother is doing. After the Chaos Zone opened, the 10,000 Law Academy's vice headmaster Yang Yuchen, who was also the current 3rd senior brother of the 10,000 Law Academy's inner palace, also entered. Right now, Yang Yuchen was alone. His 2 sworn brothers had left after coming out of the natural secret realm. With their strength, there was no need for them to travel together in the planar battlefield. To them, traveling together was the greatest luxury and waste. That was because if they stayed together, even if they were lucky enough to encounter an opportunity, it would be shared among the 3 of them. He might as well travel alone. Whatever he encountered would belong to him. Furthermore, the chances of encountering a fortuitous opportunity would also be higher. Just like before, Yang Yuqin had encountered a natural secret realm and invited them to enter together. If Yang Yuqin had spent most of his time with them, he might not have had the chance to encounter that natural secret realm. Of course, the natural secret realm that Yang Yuqin encountered had a lot to do with sending Duan Lingtian to the battlefield of the God's Inquisition. Or it could be said that if he hadn't sent Duan Lingtian to the battlefield of the God's Inquisition, he wouldn't have had the chance to find that natural secret realm. Not long after entering the Chaos Zone, Yang Yuqin arrived outside a mountain range and felt a violent energy fluctuation in front of him. It was obvious that there were experts fighting. This divine power aura, two medium ultimate gods. Yang Yuqin was surprised and couldn't help but move closer out of curiosity. After entering the mountain range, Yang Yuqin finally saw the two figures in the storm. The battle between the two medium-level ultimate gods was in full swing. After a while, their power of law erupted and two heaven and earth anomalies appeared at the right time, illuminating millions of miles. Yang Yuqin's expression changed as soon as the power of law appeared. He naturally knew what it meant. It meant that they were at the peak of the medium ultimate god. Unless both of them had not mastered the four Tao of heaven and earth, it would be difficult for him to defeat them with his power of law that could illuminate millions of miles. Boom! Rumble. The two medium ultimate gods were fighting. Two ultimate gods who were more than 100 meters tall were fighting each other. The power of law shrouded millions of miles, and the momentum was vast. Every blow caused the surrounding mountain range to tremble. Countless rocks flew up, and many mountain peaks were shattered. With every step they took, many mountain peaks were directly crushed into flat ground. Yang Yuqin realized that the two were not to be trifled with, and was about to retreat to watch the battle so that they wouldn't notice him. However, he suddenly noticed that one of the figures looked familiar. This is... Yang Yuqin took a closer look at one of the figures and suddenly frowned. It's her. The two figures fighting in front of him were a man and a woman. At this moment, Yang Yuqin's eyes fell on one of them, which was the woman. Her power of law has illuminated millions of miles? She won't lose, right? I'd better not watch in case I'm discovered. Let's turn around and leave. Yang Yuqin felt that his luck was a little bad. Why did he meet her here? Wasn't she in closed-door cultivation? Could it be that she came out because of the breakthrough in her power of law? You haven't entered the upper ultimate god realm yet. Didn't you say that you wouldn't come out until you entered the upper ultimate god realm? Yang Yuqin felt a headache coming on. However, just as Yang Yuqin was about to turn around and leave, the woman who was fighting fiercely suddenly spoke and looked in Yang Yuqin's direction. Yang Yuqin, I saw you. Seeing your woman being bullied, you turned around and left. Are you still a man? The woman's voice was loud and magnetic. She had the spirit of a heroine. The middle-aged man who was fighting with the woman suddenly changed his expression. Someone was coming? Moreover, he knew his opponent. Have I been discovered? Yang Yuqin's body stiffened and then he sighed in his heart. He turned around and stepped into the air and flew toward the battle. Since he had been discovered, there was no way to hide. Otherwise, if the woman complained to his first senior sister in the future, he would be in deep trouble. Don't talk nonsense. Yang Yuqin stepped into the air and said in a low voice, It doesn't matter if I'm a man, but you're a woman. You should care more about your reputation. What if you can't get married in the future? The woman giggled as she fought with her opponent. I'll definitely marry you. Yuqin, we're destined to be a couple. Otherwise, why would I immediately meet you when I just entered the planar battlefield a few days ago? I heard that you entered the planar battlefield. That's why I came. The woman smiled. Yang Yuqin's face darkened when he heard the woman's words. He cursed in a low voice. It must be that fellow who betrayed me. Brother? Tui. To think that I invited him to enter the natural secret realm with me. So you entered the natural secret realm. The woman came to a realization. Yuqin, you didn't ask me to come because you didn't want to disturb my cultivation, right? Yuqin, you're still the one who cares about me. Unlike my father who saw that the chaotic area of the planar battlefield was about to open and directly interrupted my closed-door cultivation so that I could enter to seek opportunities to break through. As the woman spoke, her words were clearly expressing that she felt that her father was inferior to Yang Yuqin. When Yang Yuqin heard this, he felt a wave of exhaustion in his heart. Didn't you say that you came to find me because you heard that I entered the planar battlefield? A woman's mouth was a liar. Bang! A loud bang resounded. The woman exerted all her strength and blocked the opponent's somewhat agitated attack. It's difficult for me to defeat you alone. However, my fiancé is here. You'll definitely lose. The middle-aged man's expression was extremely unsightly at this moment. Since this young man that just arrived was her fiancé, his strength shouldn't be weak, right? Retreat. Without any hesitation, the middle-aged man's heart sank, and he prepared to retreat at the first possible moment. However, he just turned around when he was stopped by Yang Yuqin. Yang Yuqin's speed seemed to have increased greatly in the blink of an eye, and he blocked the middle-aged man's path. At the same time, a phenomenon of the power of laws appeared and illuminated 1,000,000 miles. Yuqin, your power of laws has broken through as well? The woman was slightly surprised and pleasantly surprised. In this way, it'll be even easier for us to take down this fellow. Illuminate 1,000,000 miles? The middle-aged man looked at Yang Yuqin, who was blocking his path, with disdain. This bit of power of laws was far inferior to his. However, just as he was about to break through Yang Yuqin's encirclement, he realized that once Yang Yuqin's power of laws was released, its strength was not inferior to his power of laws at all. This is the Tao of control. The middle-aged man's expression changed drastically. Now, he finally knew why his opponent, the woman, was so confident in this young man. This young man had mastered an extremely powerful Tao of control. Run. Without any hesitation, the middle-aged man immediately took out a drop of the Supreme Powerhouse's divine power. His strength erupted as he prepared to escape. However, almost at the same time, Yang Yuqin took out a drop of the Supreme Powerhouse's divine power. Even the woman did the same. When the middle-aged man saw this, his expression changed again. At the same time, he did not try to escape. Instead, he took out a jade slip and crushed it. The entire process was as smooth as flowing water. As for Yang Yuqin and the woman, they looked enlightened. At the same time, they did not use the Supreme Powerhouse's divine power that was floating in their hands. Smack! As the jade slip was crushed, an extremely powerful force that caused one's heart to palpitate appeared. Then, a huge face appeared. It glanced at the middle-aged man coldly before looking at Yang Yuqin and the woman. When it swept past Yang Yuqin, it did not seem like much. However, when its gaze landed on the woman, it frowned slightly. Old Shue's descendant? Junior Shue and greet Senior. The woman looked at the huge face that was staring at her and bowed slightly. Senior, are you planning to intervene in the dimensional battlefield and save your descendant? Needless to say, the woman knew that the middle-aged man was definitely the descendant of this supreme powerhouse. Moreover, he was definitely a descendant that was highly valued. Otherwise, he would not have such a life-saving technique in his hands. Chapter 4276. One had to know that it was not easy even for a supreme powerhouse to condense such a jade slip with the projection of the original body. Every jade slip required a long time to be nurtured. Moreover, only one jade slip could be nurtured every once in a while. Unless it was someone highly valued by the ultimate powerhouse, it was impossible to possess a jade slip that was projected by the ultimate powerhouse. Of course, Shuang also had such a jade slip. However, she had it because the supreme powerhouse ancestor of the Shui family valued her and treated her as his own granddaughter. As for why he valued her, it was because she was one of the two most outstanding people in the current generation of the Shui family. As a woman, she was not weaker than the heir of the Shui family. Moreover, she had a deeper relationship with the supreme powerhouse ancestor of the Shui family because the supreme powerhouse ancestor was the ancestor of her lineage, and they were closer by blood. Yang Yuqin of the inner palace of the Myriad Law School in the Xingang Land greets Senior. At this time, Yang Yuqin followed Shui Ying and bowed slightly to the giant face that appeared in the void in front of him. At the same time, there was a hint of envy in the depths of his eyes. Look at her. Seeing that she was about to be killed, she crushed a jade slip and her life was saved. When will our inner palace be able to produce such a powerful expert? Senior sister, is there hope? I hope senior sister won't be too reckless in the outside world. If she dies before becoming a supreme powerhouse, then I will lose a backer who may become a supreme powerhouse. If senior sister becomes a supreme powerhouse, I will ask her for 8 or 10 jade slips with the projection of her original body. I won't have to worry about being killed a few more times. Yang Yuqin was secretly looking forward to it. That's not right. Suddenly, Yang Yuqin thought of something. Now, I found another little junior brother for the inner palace and 4th junior sister. Both of them are weaker than me. Even if eldest senior sister really becomes a supreme powerhouse and can take out the jade slip with the projection of her true self, I'm afraid she'll give it to them first, right? Thinking of this, Yang Yuqin felt a headache and helplessness. Inner palace of the Myriad Law School? Finally, the giant face that appeared in the void opened its eyes to size up Yang Yuqin for the first time. In the depths of its eyes, which Yang Yuqin did not notice, there was a hint of fear. A moment later, he nodded at Yang Yuqin and said, I've long heard that the inner court branch is filled with talents from the lower planes. It's not bad that you've achieved this at such a young age. At this moment, what was the attitude of this utmost powerful being towards Yang Yuqin? It was obvious that he was much more easygoing. As for Yang Yuqin, he thought that the other party was doing it for Shui Ying's sake. A moment? The giant face's gaze? Would it fall on Shui Ying again? The girl from the Shui family? I'm Shangguan Mingdao? Is this my direct descendant in the Shangguan family? Do me a favor and let him leave? What do you think? Shangguan Ming said. Hearing the giant face's words, Shui Ying's eyes flashed. So it's a senior from the Shangguan family of Red Maple Land. Senior, even the projection of your true body has appeared? Of course, I have to give you face. But, this time, I'm afraid I won't be able to stop your descendant by myself. It's fine on my side. At this point, Shui Ying paused for a moment and looked at Yang Yuqin. She smiled and said, I'm afraid senior will have to show some sincerity on my fiancé's side. Red Maple Land? The Shangguan family's utmost powerful being, Shangguan Mingdao. She knew this person. He was an utmost powerful being whose strength was slightly inferior to her Shui family's utmost powerful being, so she was not too afraid. She would directly ask for benefits from the other party. She also firmly believed that the other party would definitely bleed. In the dimensional battlefield, even if an utmost powerful being appeared, they would not dare to make a move easily. Once they made a move, it would alarm everyone and attract the dissatisfaction of other utmost powerful beings. If the situation was bad, they would be severely punished. Although utmost powerful beings stood at the peak of this world, they could not do whatever they wanted. There were many other utmost powerful beings who could keep them in check. Even if their strength was shocking, a group of utmost powerful beings could still suppress them. Of course, if an utmost powerful being's projection appeared in the dimensional battlefield, as long as they did not make a move, it would not alarm other utmost powerful beings. Right now, this expert from the Shangguan clan clearly did not plan to do anything. He only wanted her and Yang Yuqin to let his descendant go. In this kind of situation, even if it could be said that he had interfered, there would not be any negative consequences for him. However, as the descendant of an utmost powerful being who was still alive, how could Shui Ying let the other party save her descendant so easily? Did he not want to bleed? Impossible. Fiancé. Hearing Shui Ying's words, the expression on the huge face changed rapidly. Then, he smiled and said, Sincerity is naturally necessary. I can't let you give me face for free. As soon as he finished speaking, the huge face in the void shook and then condensed into a human figure. It turned into a dignified middle-aged man who was faintly discernible and seemed both real and illusory. Take these 2 embryos of the supreme divine artifacts as compensation for you. Shangguan Mingdao glanced at Yang Yuqin, then raised his hand and threw out 2 embryos of utmost divine artifacts, which floated in front of Yang Yuqin. When Yang Yuqin saw this, his eyes instantly lit up, but he still looked calm on the surface and bowed slightly to express his gratitude. Thank you, senior. He did not mean to be polite. There was no need to be polite. Even if he did not get what he wanted, the other party might not feel that he owed him a favor. After all, the other party was an utmost powerful being. If this was not the dimensional battlefield and the other party did not dare to make a move easily, the other party would not be so polite. Thank you, Senior. At this moment, Shuang also smiled and expressed her gratitude. It was as if Yang Yuqin had gotten the embryos of utmost divine artifacts. She was happier than she had gotten the embryos of utmost divine artifacts. Let's go. Shangguan Mingdao nodded and then looked at his descendant, the middle-aged man. You have to be careful in the dimensional battlefield. Don't think that you can do whatever you want in the dimensional battlefield just because you're one of the best among middle-level ultimate gods and can even fight against ordinary high-level ultimate gods. This time, it can be considered a lesson for you. When the middle-aged man heard Shangguan Mingdao's words, he had a guilty expression on his face. After all, it was because of him that his ancestor had taken out 2 embryos of utmost divine artifacts. It should be known that it was not easy for even an utmost powerful being to nurture embryos of utmost divine artifacts. After taking a deep breath, the middle-aged man bowed slightly to Shangguan Mingdao's projection before he left. However, before he left, his gaze was cold when he glanced at Yang Yuqin and Shuang. After all, it was because of these 2 people that he had to crush the jade slip that his ancestor had left him with the projection of an utmost powerful being's true body and caused his ancestor to lose 2 embryos of utmost divine artifacts. If it wasn't for the 2 of them joining forces, I wouldn't be afraid of either of them. I, Shangguan Fusu, will get my revenge one day. The middle-aged man's name was Shangguan Fusu. He was the most outstanding genius among the younger generation of the Shangguan clan in the Red Maple Land. That was the reason why he was protected by the utmost powerful beings. He had originally thought that with his strength, he would be able to do as he pleased in the Chaos region, where the 6 gods of God realms coexisted. He did not expect to meet a woman whose strength was on par with him as soon as he entered the chaotic region. When the woman said her name, he knew she was on par with him. After all, she was the precious daughter of the Shui clan, an overlord ultimate god clan in the mysterious gangland. She was one of the 2 most outstanding people among the younger generation of the Shui clan. As for the other person, Yang Yuqin from the inner branch of Wanfala Palace, he had never heard of him. He had only heard of the first disciple of the inner branch of Wanfala Palace. She was also a woman with amazing strength. Even the Shangguan clan's high-level ultimate gods praised her. Even his father, who was second only to the master of the Shangguan clan in terms of strength, admitted that he was not a match for the first disciple of the internal palace of Wanfala Palace. He's that person's junior brother. Sooner or later, I'll find a chance to spar with the 2 of you alone. Although he had left, Shangguan Fusu's heart was filled with unwillingness. If he were to meet any one of them alone, he would not be afraid of them. However, the 2 of them were able to team up against him. After seeing Shangguan Fusu leave, Shuang and Yang Yuqin would not be able to catch up with him. The projection of the Shangguan clan's ultimate expert, Shangguan Mingdao's original body, gradually disappeared. However, before he left, he took a few more glances at Yang Yuqin. Just like Shuang and Yang Yuqin, in his eyes, Yang Yuqin, who was not the descendant of an ultimate expert, was more worthy of his attention. After Shangguan Mingdao's original body projection disappeared, Shuang heaved a sigh of relief. An ultimate expert, after all, even if it's just the original body projection, it's still hard to breathe. When Yang Yuqin heard this, he deeply agreed. At the same time, he sent out the 2 embryos of ultimate divine artifacts that he had just obtained and let them float in front of Shuang. Keep them for yourself. Shuang waved her hand and said, These things are useless to me. Useless to you? Hearing Shuang's words, Yang Yuqin felt as though his heart had been pierced by 10,000 arrows. You have ultimate divine artifacts? If you have ultimate divine artifacts, why didn't you use them just now? If you had used them, even if you were alone, you would have been able to easily defeat Shangguan Fusu. By now, Yang Yuqin had already guessed the identity of the middle-aged man who was able to make an ultimate expert of the Shangguan clan appear. Only the number 1 person of the Shangguan clan's younger generation, Shangguan Fusu, would have such a card. No. Shuang shook her head. If I had ultimate divine artifacts, I would have used them to kill Shangguan Fusu just now. Clearly, Shuang had also guessed the identity of the other party. Shangguan Fusu, even in the upper circle of the various divine planes, was a well-known figure. No matter what, he was still a genius of the Shangguan clan. Then Yang Yuchen frowned. I only have 3 supreme divine weapon embryos so far. Even with these 2, it's impossible for me to gather 9 supreme divine weapon embryos before I become a higher ultimate god. Shuang shook her head and said, "Not long ago, the elder ancestor promised me that as long as I become a higher ultimate god, he would give me a ultimate divine artifact. So, these things are useless to me. I'll give you the 3 embryos of ultimate divine artifacts that I have. They are useless to me." As soon as Shuang finished speaking, not only did she return the 2 embryos of ultimate divine artifacts to Yang Yuchen, she also took out the other 3 embryos of ultimate divine artifacts and handed them to Yang Yuchen. Yang Yuchen was dazzled by this, and the corner of his mouth twitched slightly. Deep in his heart, a faint sense of inferiority arose spontaneously. They were all humans. They were all medium ultimate gods. Why was the difference so huge? Chapter 4277. The Chaos Region, Duan Lingtian, entered the Chaos Region from the inner region where the people from the 6 planes of gods were from. His state of mind had changed from the initial calm to a slightly disturbed state. After all, the Chaos Region of the dimensional battlefield was even more chaotic than the usual dimensional battlefield. Many people even called it the meat grinder, the Emperor God's meat grinder. It was also the ultimate God's meat grinder. With his strength, it was difficult to find a worthy opponent among the lower ultimate gods. However, in the Chaos Region, there were not only lower ultimate gods, but also intermediate ultimate gods and even high-level ultimate gods. In this one year, the one that improved the most is still the Space Law. Although Duan Lingtian wanted to improve his cultivation base in the past year of closed-door cultivation, the time was too short. Even if he used up the accumulated rewards in his body, it did not improve much. After entering the ultimate god realm, every step forward in cultivation was harder than ascending to the heavens. On the other hand, the Space Law had successfully transformed and reached the stage of illuminating 1,000,000 miles. Now, my understanding of the Space Law that I'm most proficient in has already surpassed Third Senior Brother's understanding. I wonder if Third Senior Brother has also mastered the law of illuminating 1,000,000 miles. The improvement in the Space Law had also improved Duan Lingtian's strength. Although there was still a long way to go before he could completely consolidate his cultivation base as a lower ultimate god, there were very few medium ultimate gods who could be his match. Of course, those top intermediate ultimate gods like his third senior brother Yang Yuchen were not inferior to him. Suddenly, a cry of unwillingness rang in Duan Lingtian's ears. In the next moment, he saw a faintly discernible shadow soaring into the sky in the distance. After letting out a cry of unwillingness, it crashed to the ground with a loud crash. The heaven and earth vision of 100,000 miles loomed in front of him. Just by looking at the fallen figure, Duan Lingtian could easily tell that a lower ultimate god had fallen. He had seen many similar scenes before and was very familiar with them. What a mess. I've been in the dimensional battlefield for quite some time. Although I often create such scenes, it's rare to see such scenes created by others. Now, this is my first day in the Chaos region. I never expected to see such a scene. Duan Lingtian sighed inwardly. Of course, he also knew that this was because this area was densely populated. Just this area? The people from the 6 universes were gathered in this place? This meant that he could encounter enemies from 5 different places at any time. No matter who it was the same. If Kerr is still in the planar battlefield, now, even if he hasn't come in yet, he should be here soon. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. And my mother-in-law and sister-in-law, thinking of Linghu Renfeng and Linghu Chuyin, Duan Lingtian couldn't help but have a headache. Was it supposed to be a trip to find his wife? Now, it had become a trip to find his wife, mother-in-law, and sister-in-law. Of course, he knew as well. It was not Linghu Renfeng's fault. Linghu Renfeng, as Ker's mother in her previous life? The reason why she took the risk to come here was because she was worried about Ker's safety. Moreover, she didn't know that this son-in-law of his could grow so strong in such a short time. That year, before Linghu Renfeng came to the battlefield of the God's Judgment, she had looked for him in the Xingang territory and left him some things. Although he didn't want to meet her face to face, he could feel the good intentions of this mother-in-law. Although Duan Ling Tian had been to this area before, he had never been to this area before. However, at that time, it wasn't the Chaos region yet. This area hadn't overlapped with one of the two other planar battlefield's inner regions. Now, when they overlapped, not only did the environment and landscape change, even the atmosphere became much more solemn. For example, Duan Ling Tian didn't dare to fly in the air. He only dashed forward on the vast land, crossing mountains and ridges. At the same time, he looked around vigilantly. Even though his strength could be considered to be not bad in the Chaos region, there were still many people who could defeat or even kill him, not to mention the high-level supreme gods. Among the mid-level supreme gods, there were many who were stronger than him. In the past, when this was the battlefield of the God's Judgment, there were high-level supreme gods and mid-level supreme gods, but there weren't as many as there are now. The number of high-level supreme gods and mid-level supreme gods is more than 3 times more than before. It might even be 5 times more, or even 10 times more. Duan Ling Tian was very clear about this point. Many mid-level supreme gods and high-level supreme gods came here because of the opening of the Chaos region. Their goal was to seek fortuitous encounters in the Chaos region and obtain what they wanted. The Chaos region was said to be a place that was specially taken care of by the strongest because this area overlapped with the resources of the 3 planar battlefield secret zones and other resources. Under such circumstances, the probability of encountering a secret realm and other opportunities would naturally be much higher than before. It was more than 2 to 3 times more. However, at this moment, Duan Ling Tian was carefully moving forward. He didn't know that he was being watched. Duan Ling Tian was shuttling through the mountains and ridges. His figure was sometimes hidden in the forest and sometimes revealed. All of this was seen by 2 people. The 2 people who were watching Duan Ling Tian were middle-aged men. One was tall and the other was short, one was thin and the other was fat. The tall one was thin and the short one was fat. It shouldn't be difficult for the 2 of us to take him down, right? The short and fat middle-aged man stuck out his tongue and licked his slightly dry lips as he asked the person beside him with a sharp look in his eyes. The tall and thin middle-aged man was calm and indifferent when he heard that. Don't be hasty. Let's observe a little more. Don't act rashly before we know more about his strength. The Chaos region has just opened. Although there are many opportunities, there are also many hidden dangers. Although he's only a lower ultimate god, we're also lower ultimate gods, and we're not considered the best among the lower ultimate gods. The short and fat middle-aged man did not take the tall and thin middle-aged man's words seriously. You're being too careful. This young man is obviously a lower ultimate god who has just entered the ultimate god realm. He hasn't even consolidated his cultivation base yet. How strong can he be? If you ask me, you're getting more and more. The short and fat middle-aged man did not finish his sentence. It was because the purple-clad young man they were watching had already encountered 3 enemies. The 3 lower ultimate gods joined forces and attacked at the same time. As soon as the 3 lower ultimate gods attacked, the short and fat middle-aged man could tell that they were all lower ultimate gods who had consolidated their cultivation base. Judging by their attacks, any one of them was not weaker than him and his companions. It's too late. They've beaten us to it. The short and fat middle-aged man sighed. At the same time, he felt some lingering fear. Fortunately, we didn't make a move. If we did, I'm afraid we'd be killed by those 3 even if we managed to take him down. The short and fat middle-aged man sighed. The tall and thin middle-aged man, on the other hand, was staring at the purple-clad young man. At his level of cultivation, his eyesight was very good. It was not difficult for him to see that the purple-clad young man was still calm when facing the 3 people who were attacking him. 100,000 miles weak light. At this moment, The short and fat middle-aged man beside him cried out in surprise. In the distance, the leader of the three people who were attacking the purple-clad young man released his power of law. A heaven and earth vision appeared as a faint, weak light covered an area of 100,000 miles. The short and fat middle-aged man gasped. If the two of us are really targeted by the three of them, I'm afraid none of us will be able to escape. He and his companions had not comprehended the power of law to the level of 100,000 miles weak light. The tall and thin middle-aged man's originally calm face turned solemn at this moment. Something's not right. Suddenly, he found another problem. That was, even if one of the three people who were attacking the purple-clad young man displayed such a power of law, the purple-clad young man still did not change his expression. Is he scared out of his wits? Or, just as the tall and thin middle-aged man stared at Duan Lingtian in the distance and found that Duan Lingtian was still calm in the face of the three people besieging him, Duan Lingtian was also a little surprised when he saw the three lower ultimate gods suddenly attacking him. He did not notice the three of them. It seemed that they were very well hidden. Also, with his current divine consciousness, if the other party deliberately hid and used some formations, he might not be able to detect the existence of a lower ultimate god. 100,000 miles weak light? A lower ultimate god who can master this level of power of law is very strong. However, his water law should have just broken through not long ago. Among the three people who had surrounded Duan Lingtian, the person who had comprehended the law of weak light to the extent of 100,000 miles was an expert in the law of water. At this moment, he was the first to charge at Duan Lingtian. Waves rolled out like the mouth of a giant beast as he attempted to swallow Duan Lingtian whole. The other two followed closely behind, full of murderous intent. Teleport. Duan Lingtian's heart skipped a beat as he teleported to the back. None of the three people was an expert in the law of space, so it was difficult for them to restrain his teleportation. However, it was difficult to restrain Gue Nan, so the three people sped up and chased after him. You're digging your own grave. Duan Lingtian smiled faintly, then his divine power vibrated and the law of space erupted, illuminating 1,000,000 miles of heaven and earth vision spread out and enveloped the surroundings. At the same time, in front of him, a beautiful figure in a rainbow-colored dress seemed to merge with his power and turned into a rainbow-colored light sword that fell into his hand. Illumination 1,000,000 miles. The leader who comprehended the power of law to 100,000 miles weak light was a young man. His expression changed drastically as he shouted, "Kill him with all your might." He hasn't consolidated his cultivation base yet. It won't be difficult for the three of us to kill him together. As soon as he finished speaking, he exploded. As for his two companions, although their eyes were filled with shock at this time, they also used all their strength to attack at the first moment. Illumination 1,000,000 miles? In the distance, the tall and thin middle-aged man who was hiding in the dark was shocked, while the short and fat middle-aged man beside him was already stunned. He just entered the ultimate god realm, and he already mastered the power of law to illuminate 1,000,000 miles? And it's the law of space? Chapter 4278. The chubby middle-aged man broke out in a cold sweat as he watched the scene unfold before him. If he went up alone, even with the help of his companions, he would definitely be killed. Duan Lingtian did not know that someone was watching him in the dark. His attention was completely focused on the three people who were surrounding him. When the three of them saw his power of law that illuminated millions of miles, they attacked him together without holding back. It was obvious that they wanted to use their strongest power to suppress and even kill him. The Seven Orifices exquisite sword has now completely merged with the two supreme artifact embryos. I wonder how powerful it is. With just a thought, Duan Lingtian casually waved his hand. The Seven Orifices exquisite sword instantly whistled out. It carried a fierce sword intent that originated from the sword Tao as it charged toward the strongest person among the three. Of course, it was only the sword principle. Duan Lingtian did not use the sword principle of control. Whoosh! The seven-colored sword ray shone brightly and intertwined with the heaven and earth vision that illuminated millions of miles. It was exceptionally bright. No, An exclamation filled with shock and disbelief sounded in a timely manner. Then, a ray of light shone. In the next instant, a huge shadow soared into the sky and roared unwillingly before crashing to the ground. Impossible! How is this possible? When the other two people who were besieging Duanling Tian saw that the strongest person among the three of them was killed with a single strike, their expressions changed. Shock and disbelief could be seen on their faces. However, just as they were subconsciously stunned, whoosh, the seven-colored sword ray continued to sweep across the sky. By the time they reacted, the seven-colored sword light was already very close to them. No, one of them also let out a cry of unwillingness. The other person opened his mouth, but did not have time to make a sound. Bang! Bang! In the next instant, another two huge shadows soared into the sky. After letting out two unwilling cries, they crashed to the ground. The sound reverberated in all directions as if there was a violent earthquake. It turned out that the other two people who were surrounding Duanling Tian were also killed by Duanling Tian with one move. He had killed two people with a single strike. From the beginning until now, Duanling Tian had only attacked twice. Not bad. It's a pity that you met me. Duanling Tian glanced indifferently at the remains of the lesser ultimate god who had comprehended the power of law to the 100,000 miles weak light realm, and a faint smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. He believed that if it was any other lesser ultimate god who had not consolidated their cultivation today, they would not be able to do so. Facing the encirclement of these three people, it was basically certain death. Continue walking. I'm so low-key, and my cultivation is so weak. I don't think there's a middle-level ultimate god who would target me, right? Let alone a high-level supreme god. Even a high-level supreme god wouldn't want to look at me, right? As Duanling Tian thought about this, he put away the three divine artifacts and continued forward. The three of them had died too quickly, apart from the first one, whose attack had been shattered by Duanling Tian. Even the artifact souls had been destroyed by Duanling Tian, but the other two artifact souls were still alive and well. However, when Duanling Tian put away the two divine artifacts, why were the two artifact souls behaving so obediently? They did not dare to show the slightest disobedience or resistance. This was because they knew that if they disobeyed or resisted, they would definitely die. Duanling Tian continued forward. He did not know. At this very moment, behind a cliff behind him, there was a strange voice. Two figures were still looking at him from afar. The short and fat middle-aged man was trembling all over at this moment. Cold sweat trickled down his forehead. Oh my God! Isn't this too scary? Him? Comprehended the sword principle? That sword principle? It doesn't seem to be as simple as just comprehending it. This is the first time I've seen such a terrifying lesser ultimate god. If I didn't see it with my own eyes, it would be hard to imagine that this is someone who has just entered the lower ultimate god realm. Have you ever seen such a terrifying lesser ultimate god? I feel that although he has just entered the lower ultimate god realm, I'm afraid there are not many lower ultimate gods who can match him. He's too strong. The short and fat middle-aged man said as he looked at the tall and thin middle-aged man beside him. The tall and thin middle-aged man took a deep breath when he heard the short and fat middle-aged man's words. His back was soaked with cold sweat. With his strength, I'm afraid he can even protect himself against those who have just entered the intermediate ultimate god realm and have not consolidated their cultivation base yet. He's very strong. Fortunately, someone helped us test the waters first. Otherwise, we'd all be finished. The tall and thin middle-aged man still had some lingering fear when he recalled the scene of the three men being killed in just a blink of an eye. Yes, fortunately, someone made a move first. The short and fat middle-aged man nodded in agreement. Only those who stood at the top of this world knew that the world they were in had another name, the Defiant Divine Realm. In the Defiant Divine Realm, the 18 realms of gods stood at the top of the food chain. Below them were 81 Devata realms and countless mundane realms. The 18 realms of gods were the little worlds in the bodies of the 18 supreme powerhouses. They were also the 18 guardian gods of the Defiant Divine Realm. They seemed to be high and mighty, but in fact, they bore extremely important responsibilities. If the 18 realms of gods were shattered one day, this world called the Defiant Divine Realm would not be far from destruction. The positions of the 18 realms of gods in the Defiant Divine Realm were connected together and formed a circle. And in the center of this circle, there was an independent plane. This plane was known as the Conference Plane. The purpose of this realm's existence was for the supreme powerhouses to gather and open a meeting. Today, the long-awaited meeting of the supreme powerhouses was about to begin. In fact, this meeting of the supreme powerhouses had been launched 2 years ago. However, it was not easy to get a group of supreme powerhouses to gather together. Apart from those who could not leave, 2 years was enough for a group of supreme powerhouses to gather together. Of course, when supreme powerhouses gathered together, they usually gathered in the form of projections. The conference realm was an empty realm. The spirit energy here was thin, and the space was thin. There were spatial cracks everywhere, giving a feeling of fragmentation. Let the meeting begin. As an indifferent voice spread throughout the realm, shadows were projected from all directions. Each shadow carried an extremely terrifying aura. Wherever they passed, long and narrow spatial cracks appeared in the void. With so many supreme powerhouses gathered together, even if it was just a projection, it was not easy for a single realm to bear. Soon, in the fragmented realm, shadows appeared one after another. At the same time, the huge face that had announced the beginning of the meeting also turned into a human shadow at this moment. Today's meeting mainly revolves around 3 topics. This person was a handsome young man. He wore a long white robe and had a scholarly air about him. He looked like a scholar. However, when he spoke, his pair of sword-like eyebrows seemed to be imposing without being angry. The first topic is that in the battlefield of the divine judgment, someone intervened and saved his descendant from a personal secret realm for a one-on-one duel. When he said this, the young man's originally calm tone turned cold in an instant. In an instant, most of the shadows shifted their gazes to a middle-aged shadow. Ning Yunheng, you say it yourself? The young man said indifferently. The middle-aged man who was called outside. This matter is my fault. I hastily intervened in the battlefield of the dimensions and even attacked. I am willing to be punished. The middle-aged man was the only supreme powerhouse of the Ning family in the land of punishment, Ning Yunheng. In the past, the most outstanding descendant of the Ning family, Ning Yishuan, was almost killed. Ning Yishuan crushed the jade slip given by Ning Yunheng at the critical moment and summoned the projection of Ning Yunheng's original body. Ning Yunheng's original body projection attacked and broke through the secret realm to save Ning Yishuan. You will be punished to guard Maluan Ferry for 3,000 years. Do you have any objections? Does anyone else have any objections? The young man glanced at Ning Yunheng indifferently, then looked around and asked. Hearing this, Ning Yunheng hurriedly shook his head. No objections. My original body will rush to Maluan Ferry now. It will not leave Maluan Ferry for 3,000 years. As for the others, none of them made a sound. They could understand Ning Yunheng's actions. After all, if they were in Ning Yunheng's position, they would not stand by and do nothing. It was to the extent that the descendants they valued the most also had a projection jade slip of their true body that was used to save their lives at critical moments. Let's drop this matter. The young man spoke again and ended the first topic. It was obvious he did not want to waste any more time on this topic. The second topic is the realm battlefield. The young man's eyes glinted. There are only 100 years left before the realm battlefield ends. According to past practice, in the past 10 years, 6 realms of gods will open a realm of chaos in the 18 realms of gods. This time, I plan to extend the opening of the realm of chaos to 70 years. At the same time, in the last 30 years, an upgraded version of the realm of chaos will be opened. People from the 18 realms of gods will be able to appear in the same area. The 9 realms of gods will overlap in one of the areas in the realm battlefield. As soon as the young man finished speaking, the group of supreme experts present, including Ning Yunheng who had just been punished, narrowed their eyes slightly. Following that, the sound of heavy breathing reverberated in the air. This was not the first time they had witnessed such a scene. In the past, such a scene had happened before. There were some rare treasures in the outer realm. They were useless to them, but they were very useful to ultimate gods. Even for them, It was something they yearned for. In terms of value, it was even more valuable than all the resources they had spent on their descendants in the past. Previously, I heard that the Ning Yuan realm and the Yuhuang realm discovered a divine corrupting spring in the outer realm's Tianwen Road. While they were fighting for it, someone stole it from behind. An old man looked at the young man with a shocked expression. Could it be? As for the others, their gazes landed on the young man in unison at this instant. Divine corrupting spring. A single drop of the divine corrupting spring was equivalent to a mid-grade lesser ultimate god cultivating in seclusion for 1,000 years. An entire drop? Chapter 4279. Battlefield of the Divine Inquisition. Chaos Region. This region did not only belong to the battlefield of the Divine Inquisition, but also the other two-dimensional battlefields. To be precise, it was part of the inner regions of the three-dimensional battlefields that overlapped and formed the Chaos region known as the God Emperor and Ultimate God Grinder. Duan Lingtian had been keeping a low profile all the way. However, what puzzled him was that there were still people who dared to provoke him. Those who dared to provoke him were all lower ultimate gods. Without exception, all of them were killed by Duan Lingtian. This lower ultimate god has just entered the ultimate god realm and he's already so strong. I'm afraid he's not weaker than me. On one side of a mountain, a figure could not help but gasp as he watched the purple-clad young man who had just killed a lower ultimate god effortlessly. I'm a medium ultimate god, but I have a feeling that I'm not confident in defeating him. I even have a strange sense of danger. If I didn't see it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed that I, a medium ultimate god, would be frightened by a guy who just entered the ultimate god realm. He shook his head and left in a flash. Whether this feeling is real or not, there's no need to provoke him. There's no reward for killing him. Plus, his storage ring is self-destructed. I'll only get his divine weapon at most. A superior divine weapon that might even lose its artifact soul is not worth the risk. The medium ultimate god vaguely realized that Duan Lingtian was not to be trifled with and chose to leave. However, he did not know that he had just saved his life. Duan Lingtian, who had just killed a lower ultimate god, seemed to have noticed something. He frowned slightly and looked up at the sky. At the same time, the entire Chaos region, the entire battlefield of the Divine Inquisition, and even all the dimensional battlefields who were above the ultimate god realm looked up at the same time. After a few breaths, even the god emperors of the major dimensional battlefields looked up. They looked at the sky. At the same time, the sky of the major dimensional battlefields was no longer calm. It began to shake, as if something was shaking the space above. What's going on? What is this phenomenon? This is the first time I've seen it. 900 years? I've never seen anything like this before. What is this? At this moment, a group of god emperors and reverends raised their heads. Looking at the constantly turbulent sky, their faces were filled with confusion. Only a few long-lived and knowledgeable ultimate gods? Everyone frowned. This is the supreme expert in charge of the planar battlefield is going to speak? Changing the rules at the last minute? These people? They had either experienced a similar scene before or heard about it from others. However, Duan Lingtian was a newbie who had just entered a realm of gods. He had no idea what was going on. What's the situation? I've never heard of the planar battlefield sky being like this. Duan Lingtian raised his head. Looking at the sky and smacking his lips, he had a puzzled look on his face, completely unable to understand what was going on. This was the first time he had seen it, and he had never heard of it before. He had been in the planar battlefield for at least a few decades. However, this was the first time he had seen such a situation. What's that? Finally, even the existences below the immortal Emperor realm in the battlefield noticed the tremors in the sky. It was a shocking sight. Edited by Lifer, Fingerfox. Many of them had their own guesses, and many of them were just as confused as Duan Lingtian. At the edge of the sky, the turbulent sky finally began to calm down. At the same time, an indifferent man's voice reverberated throughout the planar battlefield. It clearly entered the ears of everyone, including Duan Lingtian. In the next 100 years, the realm of chaos will no longer be open for 10 years. It will be open for 70 years. In the remaining 30 years, the upgraded realm of chaos will be opened. The three realms of chaos will be stacked together to form a single realm of chaos. Speaking up to this point, the voice paused for a moment before continuing. The rules of the planar battlefield won't always change in the last 100 years. However, every time the rules are changed, it means that there will be greater opportunities. After the upgraded realm of chaos is opened, there will be a same realm ranking for every cultivation level above the Celestial Emperor realm. There will be a ranking for the lower Celestial Emperor realm, another ranking for the middle Celestial Emperor realm, and so on until the upper Celestial Emperor realm. The ranking will be based on the number of chaos points. In the upgraded realm of chaos, killing someone of the same cultivation level will give you a certain amount of chaos points. If you kill someone of a higher cultivation level than you will receive 3 times the amount of chaos points. If you kill someone of a higher cultivation level than you will receive 10 times the amount of chaos points. After entering the upgraded realm of chaos, you will be given a brand new token. It is similar to the battle merit token, and its main purpose is to accumulate chaos points. Killing someone of the same cultivation level as you or someone of a higher cultivation level will give you chaos points. If you kill someone of a lower cultivation level than you, not only will you not receive any chaos points, but you will also lose some chaos points. If you kill someone of a lower cultivation level than you will lose 3 chaos points. If you kill someone of a lower cultivation level than you will lose 10 chaos points. If you kill someone of a lower cultivation level than you will lose 30 chaos points, and so on. 1 month before the realm battlefield closes, the same realm ranking will be calculated. The top 10 people will receive additional rewards. Even the 10th place will receive a drop of divine corporeal spring water. In the upgraded realm of chaos, not only can you obtain chaos points by killing, but you can also obtain chaos points if you are lucky enough to encounter a fortuitous encounter. You can also obtain chaos points by challenging the difficulty of the secret realm. The indifferent voice of the man entered the ears of Duan Lingtian and the others, causing the shocked Duan Lingtian and the others to gradually calm down. When the man's voice resonated in the air, Duan Lingtian knew he was a supreme powerhouse. As the man continued speaking, Duan Lingtian also learned that the last 100 years of the realm battlefield would not be the same as before. The realm of chaos would only be open for 10 years, and the remaining 90 years would be the same. This time, the realm of chaos would be open for 70 years. At the same time, in the last 30 years, the upgraded realm of chaos would be opened. At the same time, the same realm ranking and chaos points would appear in the upgraded realm of chaos. In the end, the top 10 people on the ranking would receive additional rewards. / Divine Corporeal Spring Water. What's that? Duan Lingtian had never heard of the Divine Corporeal Spring Water. No matter how hard he tried to recall, he still felt that the term was very unfamiliar. No matter where he went, he had never heard of it before. The top 10 and last place on the ranking will all receive a drop of Divine Corporeal Spring Water. It's just a drop of divine corporeal spring water. How valuable is it? Could it be comparable to the divine power of an ultimate expert? At this moment, even Duan Lingtian felt that the ultimate experts were a little stingy. When the 9 great planar battlefields converged, how many ultimate experts would there be in one planar battlefield? 9 planar battlefields meant that there would be dozens of ultimate experts. With so many ultimate experts, the upgraded realm of chaos ranking would only receive a drop of divine corporeal spring water for the last place? Too stingy. Even if you get a drop of ultimate expert's divine power for the last place, no one will think that you're stingy. Are all ultimate experts so stingy? Duan Lingtian thought to himself. Previously, although the supreme powerhouse from the Ning clan in the Land of Sanction had saved his descendant and caused Duan Lingtian to no longer feel that the supreme powerhouse was mysterious, in Duan Lingtian's opinion, the supreme powerhouse was still very lofty and impressive. After all, although the Ning clan's ultimate expert had taken his descendant away, he had still given him 2 ultimate artifact embryos. Too stingy. In comparison, the Ning clan's ultimate expert is too generous. The 10th place doesn't even get a drop of ultimate expert's divine power. Who knows, The reward for the first place might not even be as valuable as the 2 embryos of ultimate artifacts. No one knew what Duan Lingtian was thinking. Otherwise, they would have scolded him. In the reverse divine world, a drop of divine corporeal spring water was worth 10 drops of ultimate expert's divine power. Sometimes, even if you exchange 10 or 20 drops of ultimate expert's divine power for a drop of divine corporeal spring water, the other party might not even be willing to trade. But how many ultimate experts are there in this world? Duan Lingtian suddenly thought of this question after he finished complaining about the stinginess of the ultimate experts. In this world, there were 18 realms of gods, and there were 18 realms of gods. Moreover, the number of realms of gods could not be increased. Since ancient times, there had always been 18 realms of gods. I've heard before that in order to become the master of a realm of gods, one must replace the original master of a realm of gods. Otherwise, one won't be able to turn one's little world into a realm of gods. This world can only accommodate 18 realms of gods. Although there are only 18 realms of gods, there are more than 18 supreme powerhouses in this realm. Apart from that, it seems like there are many other supreme powerhouses as well. There are 9 realm battlefields, and each realm battlefield only has a few ultimate experts. That means there are dozens of ultimate experts. Any realm battlefield was created by many supreme powerhouses. Duan Lingtian had long heard about this when he was in the Mystic Handle Land. Moreover, he was sure this news was true. Apart from these dozens of ultimate experts, are there any other ultimate experts? If there are, perhaps there are more than 100 ultimate experts? If there are more than 100 ultimate experts, then there are quite a number of ultimate experts in this world. It's not a big deal to become one of them. After all, there are so many ultimate experts. Unless I'm stronger than the other ultimate experts. At this moment, Duan Lingtian stopped thinking about this. At this moment, even he felt like he was getting carried away. He could not continue thinking about it. Now that he thought about it, it was not a big deal to become an ultimate expert. If he continued thinking about it, he might be able to become an ultimate expert before the realm battlefield closed. Chapter 4280. When the voice from the sky came to an abrupt end, the turbulent sky had also completely returned to its original calm state. Of course, there was a process in between. However, it was this process that caused many people to not be able to recover in time. They were still in shock. An immortal had personally spoken and informed them of the sudden change in the dimensional battlefield's rules. I actually heard an immortal's voice. Many people's faces were flushed with excitement. There were also some who began to float. I didn't expect to actually hear an immortal's voice when I came in this time. When I go back out, I'll tell my big brother who didn't come in with me about this. He'll definitely be so jealous of me that he'll go crazy. An immortal. I really didn't expect that I would be able to hear his voice in my lifetime. An immortal's voice. Even if it's a man's voice, it feels like the sound of nature. Usually, it was impossible for an immortal's voice to appear in the dimensional battlefield. At least, most people would not be able to hear it. Moreover, to most people in the dimensional battlefield, an immortal was a legend. Although they knew of the existence of an immortal, they also knew that they were very, very far away from an immortal. In the past, even hearing an immortal's voice was harder than ascending to the heavens, let alone seeing one. Today, however, everyone in the dimensional battlefield had all heard an immortal's voice. In the dimensional battlefield, most people, at this moment, after regaining their senses, had an indescribable excitement on their faces. Of course, other than most people who were excited, there were also a few people who were very calm. These people were either people who had experienced similar situations before, or people who came from powerful ultimate god forces. Previously, not only had they heard an immortal speak, some had even seen an immortal. After all, powerful ultimate god forces all had immortals behind them. Even if an immortal was elusive, as long as the force behind him appeared once every 10,000 years, as long as he showed his face, there would definitely be some people who would be able to see his true appearance. Now, some people's elders in the dimensional battlefield had never even heard an immortal speak in their entire lives. It was because of this that they were excited. In another chaotic region, whoosh, 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 whoosh. Streaks of sharp sword light that seemed to be able to tear the heavens and earth apart, falling from the void. Were they like angry dragons? Wherever the sword passed, the mountain rocks cracked and souls scattered. No! A trembling scream rang out. It was a young man who stared at the green figure in the distance with shock and disbelief. A young man in casual clothes, standing with his hands behind his back, surrounded by sword light. He was like a god of swords. How is this possible? How could a mere god emperor like you kill a lower ultimate god? The young man felt like he was going crazy. Him and his elders, as Tao protectors, they would venture into the chaos region together. It wasn't easy for him to meet someone with the same level of cultivation as him. Should he let his elder take care of the formation while he personally made a move? He wondered if he could borrow the other party's hand. Stepping into the upper god emperor realm. That was right. How far away was he from the upper god emperor realm? It was only half a step away. Merely, he did not expect that Wang Chang would declare that he was no match for him right from the start. Then, he turned his attention to the protector beside him and ordered him to attack him. His guardian was a lower ultimate god who had completely consolidated his cultivation base. Even among the lower ultimate gods, he was not considered weak. However, even though Wang Chang had given his guardian enough space to unleash his full strength, he was still easily killed by Wang Chang. Bang! A huge figure rose into the sky, and after letting out a cry of indignation, he landed on the ground with a loud crash. The heaven and earth vision of a lower ultimate god falling. And all of this, the instigator was merely a middle god emperor. Also, he is only a god emperor, but he has mastered the power of the law of time to the extent of illuminating millions of miles. How could there be such a god emperor? Could he be the reincarnation of an ultimate expert? Thinking of the ultimate expert's voice 2 hours ago before he met the person in front of him, the young man suddenly had such a thought. However, this also became the last thought in his life. A sharp sword light swept past his body and merged into his body. Then, tens of thousands of swords shot out from his body, and he turned into a bloody mist. The upgraded chaos region. At that time, if nothing goes wrong, I should be able to step into the upper god emperor realm. After the sword light around the green-robed young man disappeared, a sword floated into the air and merged into his body. He looked in front of him and muttered to himself, Little Tian should have entered the chaos region as well. However, the chaos region where the Xingang land is located is not the chaos region where I am. I'm afraid I'll have to wait 70 years before I can meet him again when the upgraded chaos region opens. The green-robed young man was none other than Duan Lingtian's master in the lower secondary realm, the former heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven, Feng Qingyang. Ever since Feng Qingyang came to the solitary destructive heaven alone, he had begun his journey as a lone ranger. At first, he was aimless and left everything to fate. However, later on, there was an item left behind by the Supreme Being's inheritance that suddenly lit up and heated up. Then, it actually guided him to a certain region. That region was the place where that Supreme Being had stayed in the past. That region did not exist in any of the realms of gods. One had to forcefully break through space in the realm battlefield to enter it. It belonged to another realm. With Feng Qingyang's strength at that time, it was naturally impossible for him to do so. However, with the help of the item left behind by the ultimate expert, he easily broke through space and opened the door to that realm. After that, Feng Qingyang entered the realm and discovered it was the ultimate expert's home. It was different from the temporary cultivation ground in the Azura Hell or the place of inheritance left behind by the ultimate expert before he died. This was the ultimate expert's true home. There were many things left behind by the ultimate expert. Many of them were useful to Feng Qingyang. Even if they were temporarily useless, they could still be useful in the future. It was also because of this opportunity that Feng Qingyang grew rapidly. Currently, he had already stepped into the intermediate god emperor realm and consolidated his cultivation base. He had even mastered the law of time to the extent that he could illuminate 1,000,000 miles. The law of destruction that he was good at in the past had also been left far behind. As for the law of time, The reason why he could improve so much was entirely because there was an ultimate expert's divinity in the ultimate expert's home. It was not the ultimate expert's divinity. It was another ultimate expert's divinity. Moreover, the ultimate expert who had left behind the divinity was also good at the law of time. Even Feng Qingyang only realized at that moment that the ultimate expert who had left behind the inheritance for him had obtained an ultimate expert's divinity in the past. That was why he had a smooth journey until he became an ultimate expert. The ultimate expert's divinity that he had obtained could be considered the ultimate expert's divinity of his grandmaster. Moreover, it was an ultimate expert's divinity that had been comprehended for a long time. It was equivalent to being polished. After Feng Qingyang obtained it, he was able to comprehend it with twice the result with half the effort. Of course, the reason why he improved so quickly was related to the sword principle that Feng Qingyang had mastered. His sword principle had recently made another breakthrough. Now, he had even begun to try to integrate it with the law of time. It was not a simple combination, but a complete integration. According to some of the ancient records that the ultimate expert had left behind for him at home, Feng Qingyang had also seen the description of this. Generally speaking, this was a technique that only the extremely powerful ultimate experts could master. Even the ultimate expert who had left behind the inheritance for him had not reached that step. Feng Qingyang, a mere middle god emperor, had already begun to walk the path that many ultimate experts could not walk. The root of all this was the sword principle that he had mastered. The sword principle that he had mastered was above the ultimate expert level for the time being. Below the ultimate expert level, there was probably no other person who had mastered the four principles of heaven and earth. Only when one's attainments in the sword principle had reached a certain level could one begin to take that step. And that step did not have a high requirement for the power of law. However, one method led to 10,000 methods. Feng Qingyang's sword principle had reached a certain level of attainment and tried to integrate it with the law of time. In this process, he realized that he had gained many new insights into the law of time. This was one of the reasons why his progress in the law of time was so fast. Previously, when he killed the lesser ultimate god who had consolidated his cultivation base, Feng Qingyang had tried to integrate his sword principle with the law of time. With just one strike, he had killed his opponent. Little Tian is really my lucky star. Feng Qingyang sighed inwardly when he thought about his disciple. Originally, although his path had been smooth sailing, it definitely wouldn't have been as exaggerated as it was now. In fact, although he was more than 10,000 years old, he had not attained godhood even though he had extraordinary achievements. However, ever since his disciple, Duan Tian, was hunted down by the Yun clan from the divine offering land in the realms of gods and was forced to enter the Azura Hell, one of the 7 deadliest places in the Devata realms, his life began to change dramatically. First, he obtained the Supreme Expert's inheritance and successfully attained godhood. Then, after leaving the Devata realms, he found the Supreme Expert's home and obtained an even greater fortuitous encounter. If I didn't have anything to do with Little Tian, I wouldn't have been hunted by the Yun clan from the divine offering land in the realms of gods. If I wasn't hunted by the Yun clan, I wouldn't have gone to the Azura Hell. I'm afraid the luckiest thing in my life is to have such a disciple. I didn't find this disciple myself. He came to me on his own accord. Feng Qingyang could not help but sigh whenever he thought about this. Perhaps this was the fate of the underworld. Chapter 4281. Even Feng Qingyang himself did not expect that he would have such an exaggerated improvement within 1,000 years after he was 10,000 years old. He had not yet become a god, but he was now an expert among the gods, a god emperor. Although he was only a middle-level emperor god, he felt that he was not far from becoming a high-level emperor god. He was confident that he could become a high-level emperor god before the upgraded version of Chaos Territory opened 70 years later. He was even confident that he could consolidate his cultivation in a short time. What he had obtained from the Supreme Expert's house was enough to support him to reach the ultimate god realm quickly. Of course, he could only rely on himself when he reached the ultimate god realm. Although the Supreme Expert had left some useful things for ultimate gods in his house, they were not very useful. This was also the reason why even the supreme expert's son might not be able to progress further when he reached the lower ultimate god realm. Previously, the supreme expert could still rely on his own ability and accumulation to help him break through. However, once he reached the ultimate god realm, without stubborn talent and comprehension, it would be difficult for him to achieve great things even if he had help. According to the senior, the supreme expert's children and even his descendants wasted their lives in the lower ultimate god realm and died under the 1,000-year heavenly tribulation. As a result, many supreme experts now realize that their children and descendants do not have enough talent and comprehension. They only let them become ordinary gods and did not let them break through. After all, as long as they do not enter the divine king realm, they will not face the 1,000-year heavenly tribulation. Feng Qingyang could understand why Zhang Xian was acting like this. After all, if one did not become a divine king and did not face the 1,000-year heavenly tribulation, they would live as long as heaven and earth. Once they became a divine king, they would have to face the 1,000-year heavenly tribulation. Moreover, the 1,000-year heavenly tribulation did not care if one's cultivation speed was fast or not. Every 1,000 years, the heavenly tribulation would greatly increase in difficulty. It would continue until one could not take it anymore. I wonder how little Tian is doing now. Although Feng Qingyang had left other law clones in the lower dimensions, but the one in charge had been cultivating in seclusion recently. Moreover, his disciple's law clone had not looked for him for a long time. Therefore, he did not know how his disciple was doing. However, with his progress, he might have already entered the ultimate god realm. Feng Qingyang thought to himself, "It's a pity that there isn't anyone from the profound handle realm in the chaos region this time. Otherwise, I might have been able to find out some information about him." Feng Qingyang was very clear about this. His disciple? In the past, he had already made a name for himself in the profound handle land and stunned everyone. Knew who he was. There were many of them. The planar battlefield where he was now? He had come all the way here? He had also heard of many young prodigies, including the #1 prodigy of some overlord ultimate god sect, or the top 3 prodigies of some realms of gods. What's more, he had even heard of this plane's battlefield. They were the names of geniuses in the realms of gods that had nothing to do with the chaos realm. Ning Yishuan, the most outstanding descendant of the Land of Sanction's giant godly venerable rank family, the Ning family, was known as the #1 person of the younger generation in the Land of Sanctions. Some even said that no one in the 18 realms of gods was a match for him. The realm battlefield he was in did not have a sanctioned ground between 2 realms of gods. Even in the chaos realm where he was now, people from the 6 realms of gods were gathered. There were no people from the Land of Sanctions among them. He had accurately brushed past Duan Lingtian. Of course, Feng Qingyang did not know that Duan Lingtian was not in the realm battlefield, or the chaos realm where the people of the profound handle land were. Instead, he had gone to another realm battlefield and entered another chaos realm. Moreover, his disciple Duan Lingtian had already met Ning Yishuan, who was widely recognized as the #1 person of the younger generation in the Land of Sanctions. In the Divine Offering Land, many people in the Divine Offering Land still remembered that there was once a giant godly venerable rank family, the Ling family. However, after the Ling family's strongest person of that generation died, the Ling family declined. Later on, the family was annihilated. As for who was the one who annihilated the family, very few people could confirm. Some people said that the Ling family's strongest person had offended another strongest person. After he died, that strongest person added insult to injury and even sent people to annihilate the Ling family. As for the details, very few people knew. Most people only heard about it from rumors. Now, the once prosperous Ling clan had been reduced to ruins. As a matter of fact, the divine crystal mine beneath the Ling clan had been dug up when the Ling clan was destroyed in the past. As a result, the ruins of the Ling clan had become a barren land where very few people would come for no reason. Moreover, the space where the Ling family ruins were located was very unstable. From time to time, space cracks would appear. It was said that there were Emperor God experts who had been drawn into the space cracks and died immediately when they got close. Of course, There were also people who said that although the Ling family was annihilated, the methods left behind by the Ling family's strongest person were still there. Many space passageways spread around the Ling family ruins. Even if one did not rely on the divine crystal mind to cultivate, one's progress would not be slow. However, those spatial tunnels were not places that anyone could enter as they wished. Even an ordinary godly venerable rank expert would most likely die in there. Only a space passageway that had been strengthened by an expert could be stable and not crack. Otherwise, once the space passageway cracked, anyone below the strength of a higher godly venerable would be doomed to die if they were sucked into the spatial turbulence. At this moment, a beautiful figure was sitting cross-legged in one of the passageways. Her eyes were closed as she cultivated. At the same time, the energy of the law was pulsing around her. The beautiful figure was none other than Kerr, the eldest miss of the Xia family in the Divine Offering Land. I'll be able to reunite with Brother Tian if I stay here for 1,000 years. Even now, Kerr was pleasantly surprised when she thought about how her father no longer forced her and the Yun family no longer forced her. She even began to look forward to reuniting with her husband after 1,000 years. It's only been about 800 years since I left. Although Brother Tian's innate talent and comprehension are very strong, he should be wandering in the Devata realms at most, right? He must be very worried about me, father, mother, and sister Fei being brought to the Divine Offering Land. With his character, he'll definitely cultivate with all his might and even take risks for some fortuitous encounters. I hope he'll be safe. After 1,000 years, I'll leave this place and look for him. The Ling clan's ruins were deserted. When the wind blew, one could only vaguely hear the echoes from the ruins. A large area around them was deathly silent at this moment. A hint of desolation could be heard in the silence. At this moment, a blue figure appeared outside the Ling clan's ruins. However, the figure was far away from the Ling clan's ruins as he looked at them from afar. The figure was dressed in a long blue robe. Based on his figure, one could vaguely tell he was a man. He wore a bamboo hat that hung low and covered half of his face, making him look mysterious. Father, mother, sister, I've already become a divine emperor. I came back from the realm battlefield to retrieve the items left behind by the old ancestor. Now, I'm capable of retrieving those items. The face under the bamboo hat was that of a young man. It was also because Duan Ling Tian was not here. Otherwise, he would have recognized the young man as Ling Jueyun with just a glance. It was Ling Jueyun who had given him the sword soul of the 7 orifices exquisite sword, Huang Er. Ling Jueyun had met Ling Jueyun in the Devata realm. At that time, Ling Jueyun had an independent sword soul. In order to prevent the sword soul from being destroyed, he had taken the initiative to let the sword soul follow Duan Ling Tian. The sword soul was none other than Huang Er. Huang Er's predecessor was the sword soul of Ling Jueyun's sister's prominent Devata artifact. Naturally, Duan Ling Tian would be shocked if he saw Ling Jueyun now. This fellow had become a divine emperor in such a short time. The old ancestor had high hopes for me. Before he passed away, he even gave me the key to unlocking one of his cultivation places. I won't let him down. I'll definitely revive the Ling clan and avenge all of you. Ling Jueyun muttered to himself as his eyes shone with determination. Then, he flashed to the side of the Ling clan's ruins and took out something that resembled a talisman. He shook the void, causing a tear to appear in the void. Soon after, the tear opened. Ling Jueyun flew into the tear in the void. As soon as Ling Jueyun made his move, a gust of wind blew. Suddenly, a huge face appeared in the space beside Ling Jueyun. It stared at Ling Jueyun's back as he disappeared into the spatial crack. This lad from the Ling clan is not bad. It hasn't been long, but he's already become a divine emperor. The giant face sighed, then gradually turned into nothingness and disappeared into the void. At the same time, the surrounding space trembled as though a formation was being destroyed. Where it's possible to make mistakes, one should spare them. Although I don't have much of a friendship with that old geezer from the Ling clan, I won't allow you to act so presumptuously in my little world. An indifferent voice rang in the air as the formations were destroyed one after another. The owner of the voice was the huge face that disappeared a moment ago. He said that this was his little world. His identity was on the verge of being revealed. Obviously, he was the owner of the divine offering land, a powerful expert. Ling Jueyin had no idea what was happening outside. He did not know that an expert had tampered with the formation outside. He also did not know that he had avoided a crisis because of the intervention of the owner of the divine offering land. At the same time, in the void of the Ling clan's ruins, the space passageways began to shake violently. Then, the space passageways began to break. No, what's going on? There were some mid-level ultimate gods cultivating in the space passageways, but their expressions changed. Once the space passageways broke, they would definitely die. However, it was too late for them to react. As the space passageways broke, they were sucked into the space turbulence one after another and completely disappeared. What's going on? After a while, there was only one space passageway that was not broken and was as stable as before. However, it was also on the verge of collapse as the formations that stabilized it were being destroyed one by one. The beautiful figure inside the space passageway was shocked. Father, without any hesitation, the beautiful figure immediately took out her soul pearl. As soon as she opened her mouth, she received a reply. I'll be there in a minute. At this moment, a figure that was ridiculously fast was approaching from the north at lightning speed. Chapter 4282. Duan Lingtian did not know that his wife, Kerr, was no longer in the battlefield of the divine judgment, much less in the chaos territory. He also didn't know that his wife was facing an extremely great danger right now. He also did not know that the danger his wife was facing originated from the only heir of the Ling clan in the world of divine remains who had been annihilated, Ling Jue. Of course, all of this was out of Ling Jueyun's control. If he knew that Duan Lingtian's wife was in the spatial tunnel behind the Ling clan, and that opening the sealed cultivation ground left behind by his old ancestor would cause the spatial tunnel to break, he would have thought of a way to inform her in advance. Duan Lingtian could be said to be his only friend in this world. Although they had not known each other for long, they appreciated each other. At this moment, Duan Lingtian was wandering in the chaos territory, killing one lower ultimate god after another who was looking for trouble. Of course, he did not hold back if he encountered other lower ultimate gods in the battlefield of dimensions. They were all rewards of the rules. No matter how small a mosquito was, it was still meat. However, as time went by, he realized that it was very difficult for him to encounter lower ultimate gods. Occasionally, he would encounter a few medium ultimate gods who took the initiative to attack him. However, after he killed those medium ultimate gods, it was difficult for him to even encounter a medium ultimate god. Duan Lingtian had not encountered a single person for half a year. Not only did he not encounter any lower ultimate gods, but he also did not encounter any medium ultimate gods. This situation gave him a bad feeling. Could it be that I've been targeted? Duan Lingtian's face gradually turned solemn. Otherwise, this situation would be too strange. Duan Lingtian thought he was keeping a low profile, but he did not know that he had become famous and was called the most terrifying lower ultimate god by the people in the surrounding area. A guy who had just entered the ultimate god realm and obviously had not consolidated his cultivation base. Not only did he kill lower ultimate gods like cutting grass, but he also killed medium ultimate gods like slaughtering dogs. Even some middle-level ultimate gods who had consolidated their cultivation base and were relatively strong died at his hands one after another. Don't go in that direction. There's a god of slaughter moving forward. He has the strength to easily kill most medium-level ultimate gods, but he's keeping a low profile. Don't blame me for not warning you. If you really go over there, even if you take the initiative to attack him, you won't be able to escape death. Brother, since we're from the same realm of gods, I advise you not to go there. It's very dangerous there. How dangerous? Don't you know that there's a lower-level ultimate god in that direction? He's invincible and invincible. He can even kill a mid-level ultimate god who has consolidated his cultivation base. I'm not lying to you. If you really want to go, don't blame me if you die. Don't go there. It's best not to go there. There's a monster sweeping through that direction. What monster? A low-level ultimate god who hasn't even consolidated his cultivation base can kill a mid-level ultimate god who has consolidated his cultivation base. Are you afraid? At this moment, a large area in the direction Duan Ling Tian was heading in had become a forbidden area due to the word of mouth of some passers-by. It was a forbidden area that even lower ultimate gods and medium ultimate gods did not dare to enter. In the beginning, there were still a few mid-level ultimate gods who were not afraid of death who took the risk. However, when they saw a few mid-level ultimate gods being killed from afar, those who were hiding in the dark retreated in fear. He's a monster. Although he's just a lower ultimate god, his comprehension of the law of space has reached the point where he can illuminate 1,000,000 miles. On top of that, he's also mastered the terrifying sword principle and control principle. I even feel that the sword in his hand is not simple. It must be a divine sword that has fused with the embryo of a supreme divine weapon. Some of the sharp-eyed mid-level ultimate gods who were hiding in the dark saw through some of Duan Lingtian's techniques. Due to this reason, as the news about Duan Ling Tian spread, everyone was shocked. That monster. When the upgraded version of the Chaos Territory opens in 60 years, who will be able to compete with him on the lower Ultimate Gods ranking list? As far as I know, the competition for the lower Ultimate Gods ranking list should be the most intense. It's said that the rewards this time will tempt even Ultimate Gods. The higher the ranking, the more divine corrupting springs there will be. What? You don't know what the divine corrupting spring is? You're ignorant. The divine corrupting spring is a divine item that is said to be equivalent to a mid-level lower ultimate god's 1,000 years of cultivation. That's not something that belongs to our world. To be precise, it's impossible for such a thing to exist in our world. What does not belong to our world mean? I don't really understand. I've only heard about it from others. As people talked about the upgraded version of the Chaos Territories ranking list, more and more people knew about Duan Ling Tian, the peerless monster among the lower ultimate gods. At this time, some people who were observant felt that Duan Ling Tian was being too high-profile, especially those in the upper echelons who knew a lot more. If that purple-clad young man is not a descendant of an ultimate god, I'm afraid he'll be in trouble soon. You heard about it too? I think so too. If that person doesn't have a backer, he'll be in trouble. 60 years later, when the upgraded version of the Chaos Territories ranking list is released, the competition for the lower ultimate gods will undoubtedly be the fiercest. Moreover, many descendants of ultimate gods will compete for this ranking list. Yeah, although they're usually taken care of by the ultimate gods, there's a limit to how much they can take care of them. Even the ultimate gods themselves don't have something like the divine corrupting spring. This time, they'll definitely fight to the death for this ranking list. In their eyes, that purple-clad young man is just a stepping stone. We can't rule out the possibility that someone already has their eyes on him and is even gathering experts to kill him. I think so too. That person can fight against a medium ultimate god, but what if he's a top medium ultimate god? What if he's a higher ultimate god? How can he be a match for them? Let's not talk about top medium ultimate gods, let alone higher ultimate gods. Even if a dozen or 20 medium ultimate gods surround him, how can he be a match for them? This is the consequence of being high profile. The tallest tree in the forest will be destroyed by the wind. While many people in the upper echelons thought Duan Ling Tian was going to be in trouble, Ning Yishuan, who had just entered the Chaos Territory, heard the news. A purple-clad young man who has mastered the sword principle. Have you heard of the control principle? This piece of information sounded familiar to him. It was unforgettable for him. Back then, in the single secret realm that he had opened after accumulating many years of battle merits, he had almost died in the hands of his opponent. His opponent was a purple-clad young man who was also skilled in the sword principle and the control principle. He had also mastered the law of space. He had not consolidated his cultivation base yet. The only difference was, at that time, his opponent had only mastered the law of space to the point where the weak light could reach 100,000 miles. Now, he was hearing about a monster who had mastered the law of space to the point where the light could reach 1,000,000 miles. Of course, even so, he did not think that there were two people. I didn't expect. He had another big breakthrough so soon. The law of space has improved further. His current strength is even stronger. Ning Yishuan felt powerless. Now, everyone is guessing whether that fellow has an ultimate god as his backer. Thinking about the words he had heard recently, Ning Yishuan could not help but shake his head. No one knew better than him that that person was just someone from a lower dimension and did not have an ultimate god as his backer. He had specially asked around to understand the other party. The other party did not have a backer. He was just a nobody. It was also because of this that he had almost been killed by the other party last time, which made him very frustrated and even a little self-destructive at one point. Fortunately, he had recovered in the end. Now, he also had a new goal, which was to defeat the other party. This would be the motivation to spur him on. In particular, when he heard that the other party had mastered the law of space to the point where the light could reach 1,000,000 miles, the pressure on him increased, and at the same time, the motivation also increased. Now, I don't know if he is still moving forward with a low profile. I also don't know if he knows that his so-called low profile has now become a joke. Ning Yishuan muttered as he shook his head. The descendants of those ultimate gods, especially those who have been stuck in the lower-level ultimate god realm for many years and are not confident about the next heavenly tribulation, must see him as a thorn in their side now. Now, I'm afraid there are people gathering to deal with him. If he dies, does that mean my goal is gone? Originally, this should have been a good thing. After all, if the other party died, he would still be the most outstanding existence among the younger generation in the various planes of gods. However, Ning Yishuan always felt that he would lose his goal and his original motivation would also be gone. This is not a good thing for me. What a worrisome fellow. A few days later, Duan Lingtian, who felt that something was wrong, was just about to leave the area ahead when the road ahead was blocked after walking for a while. More than a dozen figures appeared in front of him, staring at him fiercely. More than a dozen people, all of them medium ultimate gods. Only one of them was not a medium ultimate god. This person was a lesser ultimate god. He was a middle-aged man dressed in luxurious robes. At this moment, he narrowed his eyes as he stared at Duan Lingtian. Boy, you're really strong. You've just entered the ultimate god stage, but you're able to kill a medium ultimate god who has consolidated his cultivation base. When the middle-aged man dressed in luxurious clothes said this, there was a strong sense of jealousy in the depths of his eyes. As the grandson of an ultimate god, he was usually high and mighty. Even a higher-level ultimate god would be respectful in front of him because he had an ultimate god grandfather who doted on him. However, at that moment, he did not feel any sense of superiority in front of the purple-clad young man in front of him. Although he was the descendant of an ultimate god, his talent and comprehension were limited. He even felt that he would be severely injured in the next heavenly tribulation because the previous heavenly tribulation had already injured him. This time, the appearance of the divine corrupting spring gave him hope of increasing his strength in a short period of time. Because of that, when he heard that there was a tiger in the road, he did not even plan to go out and ask for help from a higher-level ultimate god. Instead, he directly gathered more than a dozen unfamiliar medium ultimate gods. He even promised them that once they killed the target, they would not be mistreated. In fact, after confirming that the middle-aged man in luxurious clothes was the descendant of an ultimate god, these medium ultimate gods could not wait to curry favor with him and eagerly followed him. You came especially for me? Duan Lingtian frowned slightly when he heard the middle-aged man's words. Chapter 4283. Duan Lingtian was certain that he was being watched. Recently, he had not met anyone along the way. It seemed that there was a reason for this. Perhaps he was already famous now. There must be someone spying on him, but did not show up. Unless he searched everywhere, it would be difficult to find all the people hiding in the dark. Those he had killed earlier were basically people who took the initiative to show up. There were only a few people who he had killed. Kid, remember to keep a low profile if there's an afterlife. The middle-aged man smiled coldly and raised his hand. Everyone, let's do it. Almost as soon as he finished speaking, the dozen or so medium-level ultimate gods behind him flew out one by one. Their auras shook the area and their auras surged. Rays of dazzling attacks pierced through the sky and headed straight for Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian's face turned solemn when he saw the dozen or so mid-level ultimate gods attacking him in unison and discovered that there were many outstanding mid-level ultimate gods among them. Although there were no top-level mid-level ultimate gods among their attacks so far, there were a few outstanding mid-level ultimate gods among them. A few heaven and earth vision that illuminated 1,000,000 miles had appeared. A mid-level ultimate god who had comprehended the power of law to the point of illuminating 1,000,000 miles was considered one of the best even among the mid-level ultimate gods. Even though Duan Lingtian was confident in his own strength, his expression could not help but change. It was one thing to be confident in himself. However, the dozen or so mid-level ultimate gods in front of him were no weaklings. All of them had joined forces to attack him, leaving him with no way to deal with them. Even if he used all his techniques and had the divine tree of life, he would not be able to fight them head-on, unless all of the 5 divine elements had recovered and awakened. Moreover, the 5 divine elements had to be at their peak. However, the 5 divine elements were currently in deep slumber and recovering. It was impossible for them to recover to their peak in a short period of time. Therefore, it was unrealistic to fight the dozen or so people in front of him. If half of them were eliminated, he might still be able to fight them. Who the hell is this person? I can't believe he found so many mid-level ultimate gods to kill me. There's no lack of outstanding mid-level ultimate gods among them. Duan Lingtian's gaze? In the blink of an eye, it landed on the middle-aged man. It was as if she wanted to imprint his appearance in her heart. And at this very moment, he wanted to teleport, but it was also a discovery. The other party also had an existence that was proficient in the laws of space, and clearly knew that he was proficient in the laws of space. As soon as he made his move, he immediately disrupted the surrounding space. There was no way to teleport. He could only brace himself. He dodged to the side, avoiding the combined attack of more than 10 people. Whoosh! The 7 orifices exquisite sword appeared. At the same time, Duan Lingtian's avatar of the laws of space also appeared in a flash. Similarly, he wielded his sword and attacked. But even so, even though he did not face the attacks of the dozen or so people head-on, he was still suppressed to the point that he instantly fell into a disadvantageous position. At the same time, the dozen or so people attacked again. They all charged at him. Hee, kid, what are you looking at me for? You want to take revenge on me? I'm afraid you can only wait for your next life. Remember, this young master's name is Hong Zhangyi. This young master's grandfather is the omnipotent expert Hong Weilu. The middle-aged man in luxurious clothes smiled brightly. If you want to blame someone, you can only blame yourself for being too high-profile. As the grandson of an omnipotent expert, even I am not as high-profile as you. Today, unless you also have an omnipotent expert behind you, and he left you with a life-saving method, you will definitely die. Speaking of this, the middle-aged man's face seemed to be smiling like a flower. In his eyes, there was a mixture of jealousy and gloating. So what if his talent and comprehension were strong? Wasn't he still going to die here? So what if his talent and comprehension were not as good as his opponents? With a raise of his arm, there would still be a group of middle-level ultimate gods who would risk their lives for him to kill this peerless genius for him. After you die, there will be a place reserved for the upgraded version of the Chaos region's lower-level ultimate gods list in the future. This is also the reason why I want to kill you. In the eyes of the middle-aged man, Duan Lingtian was already a dead man. So there was no hesitation in his words, and at the same time, there was a strange sense of pleasure. This was a peerless genius, but he died in his hands. In the future, when he met the descendants of other omnipotent experts, he would be able to brag. Thinking of this, the middle-aged man's eyes were filled with extreme excitement. The grandson of an omnipotent expert? After hearing the middle-aged man's words, Duan Lingtian also understood why the middle-aged man was targeting him. It was obvious that the middle-aged man was worried that he would occupy a place in the top 10 of the lower-level ultimate gods list in the upgraded version of the Chaos region more than 60 years later. He was blocking the middle-aged man's path. When the middle-aged man first appeared, he could see that the middle-aged man was also a lower-level ultimate god. It seems that even the descendants of omnipotent experts value the upgraded version of the Chaos region's lower-level ultimate gods list very much. Otherwise, why would they spend so much effort to kill me? But isn't the last place in the top 10 of the list just a drop of some kind of liquid? Could it be that the liquid is not simple? At this moment, Duan Lingtian finally realized that he might have misunderstood something. The drop of liquid obtained from the 10th place in the upgraded version of the Chaos region's same level list might not be that simple. In a hurry, Duan Lingtian once again avoided the attacks of more than a dozen middle-level ultimate gods. This time, he still could not find a breakthrough point. The attacks of more than a dozen middle-level ultimate gods were too concentrated. This time, he was injured. The blood in his body was churning and his divine power was vibrating. If it were not for his 99 heavenly veins, he would not have been able to suppress his restless divine power. I have to think of a way to escape. If I continue to fight and get injured again, it will be even more difficult for me to escape. At this moment, although he was in danger, Duan Lingtian's heart was extremely calm. At this moment, he could only face it calmly. If he did not calm down, he would only die faster. Keep an eye on him. He's trying to escape. There were a total of 17 middle-level ultimate gods. 4 of them had mastered the ability to illuminate 1,000,000 miles. Among them, there was no lack of insightful people. Very quickly, they saw some clues from Duan Lingtian's trembling body and rhythmic divine power. Immediately, the 4 strongest middle-level ultimate gods took the lead and went forward to intercept him. The remaining 13 middle-level ultimate gods followed suit. At this moment, Duan Lingtian's expression became extremely ugly. Now that he was exposed, it would be even more difficult to escape. Originally, he did not have much confidence. Now, his chances were even lower. I've been too careless. Ever since I entered the dimensional battlefield, I've never encountered an absolute crisis. I've gotten used to everything going smoothly. I should have known that someone might have seen me kill those people. I should have also known that once many people saw me kill them, I would be exposed to a lot of people. This time, I've been too careless. At this moment, Duan Lingtian also knew that he had been too careless. If he had not stayed in this place all the time and changed places every once in a while, he would not have become a target for others. However, he had been moving in a straight line, which undoubtedly gave others a chance to find him. Sister Shui, can you all wake up and help? In the face of 17 middle-level ultimate gods, Duan Lingtian could only rely on the power of the sacred tree of life to avoid further injuries. The small world in his body opened up and the sacred tree of life's life force continuously swept out and entered Duan Lingtian's body, quickly healing his light injuries. At the same time, the sacred tree of life projected a looming shadow to block the attacks of the 17 middle-level ultimate gods. However, the stalemate only lasted for a moment before the shadow of the sacred tree of life was instantly shattered. Even the weaker higher ultimate gods would not be able to escape death if they did not run away and fought head-on with 17 middle-level ultimate gods of such strength. Moreover, Duan Lingtian was a lower ultimate god who had just entered the ultimate god realm. Even if he had the ability to kill some middle-level ultimate gods, he could only kill 2 or 3 middle-level ultimate gods who had comprehended the power of law to the point of illuminating millions of miles and had not mastered the 4 Tao of heaven and earth. This was under the condition that he was relying on the power of the sacred tree of life. Today, you will die without a doubt. Boy, you have nowhere to run. After the 17 middle-level ultimate gods destroyed the shadow of the sacred tree of life, they charged towards Duan Lingtian. Colorful energy shrouded the void and dazzled brilliantly. However, Duan Lingtian did not have the time to enjoy the beautiful scene in front of him. In his eyes, it was like the grim reaper's scythe that could take his life at any time. At this moment, the eyes of the lower ultimate god Hong Zhangyi, who claimed to be the grandson of an ultimate expert, burned with jealousy again. This guy even has the sacred tree of life. He has mastered the sword Tao and the Tao of heaven, and he has a complete sacred tree of life in his small world. This guy is really lucky. As the descendant of an ultimate expert, even if his strength was average, His vision was not comparable to ordinary people. He could see at a glance that Duan Lingtian had a complete sacred tree of life in his small world. It was not the manifestation of the sacred tree of life that the ultimate expert had given him. If this guy grows up in the future, he may become an existence on par with my grandfather one day. I must kill him. If he doesn't die and becomes an ultimate expert in the future, even my grandfather might not be able to protect me if he really wants to kill me. Hong Zhengyi knew very well that although his grandfather doted on him, if he offended an ultimate expert, his grandfather would most likely give up on him in order to avoid offending the ultimate expert. After all, he was not the only grandson of his grandfather. Little Tian. At this moment, the world-cleansing divine water's voice rang in Duan Lingtian's small world. It sounded weak. We haven't recovered much from the previous battle. Even if we attack with all our might, we won't be able to help you much. However, since you've come to us, it means you're in a very dangerous situation. If that's the case, At this moment, the world-cleansing divine water knew it had no choice but to awaken the other 4 divine elements to help Duan Lingtian with the remaining energy it had just regained. Chapter 4284. From the world-cleansing divine water's point of view, she and the other 5 divine elements had no choice but to help Duan Lingtian even if there was not much of a chance. Even if there was only a slim chance, they had to help him. Duan Lingtian was their chosen host. Throughout their journey, Duan Lingtian had not let them down. In just a few hundred years, he had brought them close to their highest form. Coupled with Duan Lingtian's current achievements, they even felt that Duan Lingtian would be able to become a supreme powerhouse within 10,000 years. In fact, he might even be able to turn them into independent life forms. They no longer needed to look for a host to attach themselves to. Because of this, whether it was her or the other 4 divine elements, they did not have the option of being unlucky. However, the world-cleansing divine water was about to awaken the other 4 divine elements when it was interrupted by Duan Lingtian. Sister Water, there's no need for that. The reason he interrupted the world-cleansing divine water was not because Duan Lingtian had the ability to escape. Instead, it was because someone else had arrived. This person had attacked his opponents as soon as he arrived and had taken some of the pressure off him. The newcomer was also a lower ultimate god. Although he was only a lower ultimate god, his combat strength was extremely strong. However, Duan Lingtian could not help but be stunned when he saw the newcomer. Why was it him? At that moment, the person who appeared in front of Duan Lingtian was none other than the opponent he had met in the Solo Secret Realm in exchange for his battle merits. He was Ning Yishuan, the young genius of the Ning clan from the Land of Sanctions. Initially, Jin Wushuang did not know much about Ning Yishuan. However, when he went to several military camps, he heard many people talking about Ning Yishuan. It was only then that he realized how outstanding Ning Yishuan was. It turned out that he was only a few thousand years old. Just as Duan Lingtian was about to join forces with Ning Yishuan, one of the 17 medium ultimate gods' faces changed when he saw Ning Yishuan's face. Stop! This is young Master Ning Yishuan from the Ning family of the Land of Sanctions. This medium-level ultimate god was one of the 4 strongest among the 17 medium-level ultimate gods. He was a high-ranking official of one of the ultimate god-level factions in the Sanction Lands. Who was the faction behind him? Was it related to the Ning family in countless ways? Many generations had arranged marriages, and even the current generation had arranged marriages between direct descendants. So, he knew Ning Yishuan, the Land of Sanctions, the Ning clan, Ning Yishuan. The expressions of the other medium-level ultimate gods changed as soon as the middle-aged man spoke. Ning Yishuan? They naturally knew each other. He was the strongest person in the younger generation of the Ning family in the Land of Sanctions. In fact, there was no one more outstanding than him among the younger generation in the Land of Sanctions, or even the younger generation in the various divine planes. He was once publicly acknowledged as the number 1 person of the younger generation. It was also because of this that they had all heard that this Ning Yishuan was highly valued by that supreme expert of the Ning family, and his status was extremely high in the eyes of that supreme expert. This person? He wasn't someone they could afford to provoke. In the blink of an eye, Everyone stopped. Then, they all looked at the middle-aged man behind them at the same time. It was Hong Zhangyi, who claimed to be the Supreme Expert's grandson. Both of them had Supreme Experts as their backers. They couldn't afford to provoke them. Now, they regretted helping Hong Zhangyi. If they had known that Ning Yixuan was behind the target, they wouldn't have gotten involved in this mess. Ning Yixuan. At this moment, Hong Zhangyi also recognized Ning Yixuan. He had seen Ning Yixuan once in the past and was envious of this genius Ning Yixuan. Although he wasn't the grandson of that supreme expert of the Ning family, according to his grandfather, that supreme expert of the Ning family regarded Ning Yixuan as more important than his own grandson. Hong Zhangyi. Ning Yixuan obviously knew Hong Zhangyi as well. He said calmly, "You got someone to kill him because you're worried that he'll occupy one of the spots on the upgraded lower ultimate god ranking list in the Chaos region. I'll definitely enter the realm of a medium-level ultimate god before that. By then, one of the top 10 spots on the lower ultimate god ranking list will be empty. Give me some face and leave with your people. How about it?" Ning Yixuan opened his mouth. Although his tone was calm, it was not aggressive. No matter what, the person in front of him was the grandson of a supreme expert. He was used to being arrogant. In order to not cause any trouble, Ning Yixuan did not pressure him with his power. It was a completely negotiable tone. Hong Zhangyi's ugly expression eased a lot at this moment. At the same time, he nodded. "Since you, Ning Yixuan, want to protect him, I'll naturally give you face. Let's leave it at that." After that, Hong Zhangyi glanced at Duan Lingtian again with some unwillingness in the depths of his eyes. He was so close to killing him. He did not expect Ning Yixuan to appear halfway. As soon as he finished speaking, Hong Zhangyi left with the dozen or so medium-level ultimate gods. The dozen or so medium-level ultimate gods also transmitted their apologies to Ning Yixuan and Duan Lingtian at this time, saying that they had eyes but failed to recognize such a great person. More than half of them said that they had been coerced by Hong Zhangyi. In this regard, Duan Lingtian only listened to them with one ear and out with the other. However, he would remember Hong Zhangyi. "I thought that someone who was more outstanding than I, Ning Yixuan, was a smart person. I didn't expect you to be so stupid to put yourself in such a dangerous situation." Ning Yixuan looked at Duan Lingtian and smiled coldly after Hong Zhangyi and the others had completely disappeared from sight. Duan Lingtian did not get angry, although he heard the disdain in Ning Yixuan's tone. He looked at Ning Yixuan solemnly and said, "I owe you my life." "Humph." Ning Yixuan snorted coldly. "I saved you because I wanted to get back the 2 embryos of the supreme divine artifacts that Ancestor gave you back then. It should be worth it to exchange your life for those 2 embryos of the supreme divine artifacts, right? Of course. Not to mention 2 embryos of supreme artifacts. Even if there were hundreds or thousands of embryos of supreme artifacts, Duan Lingtian did not think that they were more important than his life. If he lost his life, he would lose everything. If he kept his life and became a supreme expert in the future, as long as he had enough time, he would be able to obtain as many embryos of supreme artifacts as he wanted. However, Duan Lingtian was a little embarrassed when he thought of those embryos of supreme artifacts that he had integrated into the 7 Orifices exquisite sword. Those 2 embryos of supreme artifacts have already been integrated into the 7 Orifices exquisite sword. However, I will find 2 more for you. No, I will collect 3 embryos of supreme artifacts and return them to you. The extra one will be considered as interest." Duan Lingtian said bluntly. "Integrated?" Ning Yixuan frowned slightly, but his brows relaxed after a while. "There's no need for 3 embryos. Just return me 2. As soon as he finished speaking, Ning Yixuan's divine power pulsated. It was obvious that he was preparing to leave. "Let me give you a piece of advice. It's best not to appear in this area for the time being. Hong Zhangyi is not the only one who thinks that you're in his way. If I'm not mistaken, I'm afraid that some of the descendants of supreme experts have gone out to look for high-level ultimate gods to deal with you. You're on your own now." After Ning Yixuan finished speaking, he left in a flash. He came and went like the wind. Only Duan Lingtian remained standing on the spot, and a bitter smile appeared on the corners of his mouth. Of course, he also knew that he had been too careless this time. It was not an exaggeration to say that he had been stupid. The journey was smooth sailing. so his vigilance was greatly reduced. Little Tian, are you all right? The world-cleansing divine water's voice rang from Duan Lingtian's little world. The divine tree of life seems to have consumed a lot of energy. Have you resolved the problem you encountered? Upon hearing the world-cleansing divine water's words, Duan Lingtian snapped out of his daze and said, Sister Water, I'm fine now. Both of you can continue to recover. As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, he closed the little world in his little world. Before he closed the little world, it was not difficult to see that the divine tree of life that was originally full of vitality had dimmed. It was obvious that the attack this time had consumed a lot of energy. Whoosh! Whoosh! In the next instant, Duan Lingtian did not continue to stay in the same place. He teleported a few times and left the area. He did not continue to move in the direction he had been heading. He changed direction and walked for a while before he changed direction again. Naturally, it was the opposite direction from where he had been heading in the beginning. Today, when he encountered the descendant of the Supreme Expert and his people, he realized he had been too careless. Even without Ning Yishuan's reminder, he would not have continued to stay in the area after he had escaped. Ning Yishuan. This time, Duan Lingtian knew very well that if it were not for Ning Yishuan, even if the 5 divine elements had helped him, his chances of escaping would have been slim. For this reason, he would remember Ning Yishuan's kindness in his heart. Since Ning Yishuan had said there were 3 embryos of the supreme divine weapons, he would return 3 embryos to Ning Yishuan. Apart from the 3 embryos of the supreme divine weapons, if there was a chance, he would continue to return Ning Yishuan's favor. After all, a life-saving grace was more important than anything else. Until now, Duan Lingtian was still drenched in cold sweat when he thought about how he had been on the brink of death earlier. If he had died, what would happen to his wife, Kerr? What would happen to his children? What would happen to his parents and his wife, Li Fei? Fortunately, the supreme expert from the Ning clan saved Ning Yishuan. Otherwise, Ning Yishuan would have died in my hands. If he had died in my hands, no one would be able to save me today. Thinking of this, Duan Lingtian sighed in his heart. He felt that fate was fickle. Originally, there were some things that he was unwilling to accept, but now, he felt that he was lucky. Before today, he did not even dare to think that he would overturn his previous thoughts. I must always remember this encounter in my heart to remind myself. No matter what, I must not be careless. I must think of all possibilities. Duan Lingtian secretly warned himself that he would never make the same mistake a second time. Not long after Duan Lingtian left, several groups of people entered the area where Duan Lingtian had gone. Without exception, these people were the descendants of supreme experts and the people they had brought with them. Among them, there were many high-level ultimate gods. Where is he? Did he run away? Why can't I find him? Didn't they say that he was in this area? With his speed, he can't have reached the front so quickly, right? Let's go ahead and look for him. Although Duan Lingtian could only occupy a place on the lower-level ultimate gods list in the upgraded version of the Chaos Zone 60 years later, the group of descendants of supreme experts thought much more. With Duan Lingtian's strength, it was possible for him to reach the top of the lower-level ultimate gods list. Among them, a few descendants of supreme experts even knew that Ning Yishuan had been defeated by the purple-clothed young man. Some people even knew the purple-clothed young man's identity. Land of Xingang, Myriad Arts Academy, Duan Lingtian. Chapter 4285. In the past, the battle between Duan Lingtian and Ning Yishuan in the Secret Realm was supposed to be a very private matter. However, as the Ning clan's utmost powerhouse broke the rules of the planar battlefield and hastily intervened to save Ning Yishuan, he was punished in the utmost powerhouse conference. At the same time, many utmost powerhouses who were curious about the ins and outs of this matter also found out about it. Some of the supreme powerhouses also told their descendants about this matter. The descendants of the strongest experts were also very curious about the lower-level ultimate god who almost killed Ning Yishuan, especially when the other party was just a lower-level ultimate god who had yet to consolidate his cultivation base. After a large-scale investigation that encompassed all the planes of gods, they quickly locked onto a single person, the mysterious Handle Land, the Myriad Arts Academy, Duan Lingtian. Among the strongest lower-level ultimate gods in the current generation of the Plains of Gods, Duan Lingtian was the only one who had yet to consolidate his cultivation base. Of course, the Duan Lingtian that appeared in the Myriad Arts Academy in the end was a higher-level god emperor who had consolidated his cultivation base. However, Duan Lingtian's rapid advancement from a higher-level god emperor to a higher-level god emperor left them with no doubt that Duan Lingtian would be able to make another breakthrough in a short time in the planar battlefield. After making a breakthrough, he would naturally be a lower-level ultimate god who had yet to consolidate his cultivation base. Moreover, according to their strongest experts' fathers, grandfathers, and even ancestors, the young man who had almost killed Ning Yishuan was also wearing a purple robe at that time. The Duan Lingtian of the Myriad Arts Academy in the mysterious Handle Land was usually wearing a purple robe. This way, everything matched up. In addition, a lower-level ultimate god wearing a purple robe who was strong enough to kill most medium-level ultimate gods and had yet to consolidate his cultivation base appeared in the Chaos region where the three-planar battlefield intersected. It was not difficult for them to guess that the other party was Duan Lingtian. As for why Duan Lingtian was not in the Chaos region where the profound Zen battlefield and the other two realm battlefields converged, they were puzzled as well. However, they did not deny the fact that Duan Lingtian was in the Chaos region. Although Duan Lingtian is very talented, he has yet to consolidate his cultivation base. The path of ultimate God realm cultivation is 1,000 times harder than the Emperor God realm. It's impossible for him to consolidate his cultivation base before the upgraded Chaos region opens, let alone enter the medium-level ultimate God realm. Therefore, he is a great threat to us lower-level ultimate gods. With his strength, the first place on the lower-level ultimate god list will be within his reach after the upgraded Chaos region opens. He has no background. We don't have to worry about getting into trouble if we kill him. Although there were shadows of supreme experts behind the Myriad Arts Academy, they were not supreme experts of the Myriad Arts Academy. It was almost impossible for them to take revenge on the descendants of supreme experts just because of a disciple of the Myriad Arts Academy. Moreover, a dead genius was even less worthy for those experts to make a move. Even supreme experts would weigh the pros and cons after the fact. Killing Duan Lingtian is equivalent to having one less competitor on the lower-level ultimate god list in the upgraded Chaos region. If I'm only at the 11th place now, I'll be able to enter the top 10 after his death. Kill him. We must kill him. Due to the fact that Duan Lingtian did not have any connections or background, the group of descendants of the supreme powerhouses had no qualms about killing him. Even Duan Lingtian did not know that after he left, so many descendants of the supreme powerhouses were conducting a thorough search in that area. Among them, more than half of the descendants of supreme experts had brought their upper-level ultimate gods with them. In the following days, many descendants of supreme experts would meet each other face to face in that area. The first thing they said when they met was, "Did you find that guy?" However, Duan Lingtian had left first, causing them to miss their target. Not long after, some descendants of supreme experts found out that Hong Zhangyi, who was also a descendant of supreme experts, had once led more than 10 middle-level ultimate gods to find and kill the target. At the same time, they also found out that Ning Yishuan had appeared in time to save Duan Lingtian. I was wondering why we couldn't find that guy. It turns out that someone had acted rashly and alerted the enemy. Hong Zhangyi is too useless. He brought more than 10 middle-level ultimate gods, but he still couldn't kill Duan Lingtian before Ning Yishuan showed up. Why would Ning Yishuan help Duan Lingtian? Didn't Duan Lingtian almost kill him? Could it be that this purple-clothed youth is not the same person as Duan Lingtian? Or the person Ning Yishuan met earlier wasn't Duan Lingtian? If it's really that person, why did Ning Yishuan save him? That's the person who almost killed him. Moreover, he even harmed the Ning family's ancestor because of this. The group of descendants of supreme experts whispered to each other, unable to understand why Ning Yishuan would save that purple-clothed youth. There were also many people who felt that Hong Zhangyi was not efficient enough. If he had killed that purple-clothed youth earlier, even if Ning Yishuan appeared later, he would be powerless. However, no one felt that Hong Zhangyi giving Ning Yishuan face was anything, because if it were any of them, if Ning Yishuan appeared before the other party died, they would not be able to kill him, because they were not willing to offend Ning Yishuan. They were even happy to do Ning Yishuan a favor. Ning Yishuan was not an ordinary descendant of a supreme expert. He was a descendant of a supreme expert who had the potential to become the second supreme expert of the Ning family. This kind of supreme expert's descendant was also the most valued by the later supreme experts. As descendants of supreme experts, they knew this very well. Duan Lingtian fled tens of thousands of miles away. Next, he no longer walked forward in a straight line. Instead, he wandered to the south, then to the north, then to the east, and then to the west. His whereabouts were erratic. Even if someone found him and spread the news, it would be too late by the time the descendants of supreme experts came with reinforcements. Having learned his lesson once, Duan Lingtian naturally would not put himself in danger again. He wandered here and there without any pattern, so he did not worry about being blocked. In addition, Duan Lingtian would not stay in the same place for too long. Later, although there were descendants of supreme experts who came with reinforcements, they still came up empty-handed. What Duan Lingtian did not expect was, as time passed, some descendants of supreme experts began to speculate about his identity and origin to others. Gradually, more and more people knew his identity. Have you heard? That low-level supreme god who could kill a medium-level supreme god when he just entered the supreme god realm is from the Myriad Arts Academy in the Xinjiang land. His name is Duan Lingtian. Now, he's not even 1,000 years old. It's been confirmed. In the past, this Duan Lingtian almost killed Ning Yishuan from the Ning clan in the single-person secret realm. Oh my god! This Duan Lingtian is really not even 1,000 years old? You have to know that Ning Yishuan is already a peerless genius. Not to mention him, there's no one among the younger generation in the various planes of gods who can catch up to his current achievements at his age. If all of this is true, doesn't this Duan Lingtian deserve to be called the #1 genius among the younger generation in the various planes of gods? I still don't quite believe it. A young man who's not even 1,000 years old can have such achievements? That's too exaggerated. Even if he's a descendant of a supreme expert, no matter how much they dote on him, it's impossible for him to have such achievements at his age. As the name Duan Lingtian spread, more and more people knew about his existence. At the same time, there were also people who deliberately went to the Myriad Arts Academy in the Xinjiang land to inquire about Duan Lingtian. It would have been better if they did not inquire about it. After some investigation, they found it hard to believe. The speed of Duan Lingtian's rise was far more exaggerated than they had imagined. At the same time, they confirmed that Duan Lingtian did not have any powerful background behind him, nor did he have any supreme experts who stood behind him to support him and help him. He had to rely on himself for everything. It was also because of this that they were even more shocked. As a result, when they returned to the Chaos region where the battlefield of the Divine Judgment and the other two planes of existence intersected and brought back the news, it caused an even bigger commotion. Someone personally went to confirm, Duan Lingtian is indeed not even 1,000 years old. How terrifying! Do you think there's such a monster in the past? Maybe there has been. Who knows? After all, this world has a long history, and many things have been buried in the long river of history. What we can be sure of is that, if such a monster appeared in history, as long as he didn't die prematurely, he would definitely become a heaven-defying character in the future. At the same time, he would have a higher chance of becoming a supreme expert than others. This Duan Lingtian does not have any status or background, and he must have had many fortuitous encounters to reach where he is today from the lower planes. It won't be that easy to kill him. Last time, so many descendants of supreme experts wanted to kill him, but no one succeeded, right? I feel that since there's no news about Duan Lingtian recently, he might have been killed by some supreme powerhouse's descendant. However, they were afraid of offending Ning Yishuan, so they didn't spread the news. That's also possible. Recently, Duan Lingtian had found a secluded place to cultivate in seclusion. He did not expect his reputation to grow in the Chaos realm where the God's Judgment battlefield intersected with the other two planes battlefields. While Duan Lingtian was cultivating in seclusion, in another part of the Chaos realm, a sloppy middle-aged man had just walked out of a secret realm. When he arrived at the military camp where the people from the 6 planes were gathered, he was stunned when he heard the news about Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian? He's from the lower planes? He has mastered the sword Tao and the Tao of control of the 4 Tao of heaven and earth. He's from the Myriad Laws Palace in the mystic Handle Land? He's not even 1,000 years old? Also, the divine artifact he usually uses is a divine sword with 7-colored light revolving around it. Xiajie was completely dumbfounded when he heard the news. The name matched up. The divine artifact he used matched up as well. Wasn't it the 7 Orifices exquisite sword that he had given away? Could he have been killed by someone named Duan Lingtian and taken the 7 Orifices exquisite sword? Xiajie muttered to himself. If Duan Lingtian was really his nephew's son-in-law, how heaven-defying would his achievements be? Chapter 4286. In Xiajie's opinion, he had only met his niece's son-in-law not too long ago. 800 years was a very short time for him. In fact, if he were to enter seclusion for 800 years, he would be in seclusion for 800 years. How could a person from the mundane realm become a lower ultimate god in 800 years? Is that even possible? Although Xiajie hoped Duan Lingtian was his niece's husband, he felt it was unrealistic. In fact, he felt it was impossible. But what was going on with all the things he had heard? Did these people conspire to deceive him? However, did they know him? They were from 6 realms of gods. Moreover, all of them had said the same thing. It did not seem like he was worthy of their cooperation. What's going on? Xiajie was still in a daze. After a while, Xiajie finally calmed down. At the same time, he was certain of a few things. First, it was impossible for the people around him to deceive him. Second, it was impossible for someone with the same name as Duan Lingtian to kill his niece's son-in-law and impersonate him. Third, his niece's son-in-law was a sword user as well. Moreover, he was quite skilled in the sword as well. For this reason, he had given the 7 Orifices exquisite sword to him. Fourth, if he wanted to know if Duan Lingtian was his niece's son-in-law, all he had to do was look for him. After calming down, Xiajie no longer thought about it. I'll go look for him and see if he's my niece's son-in-law. As long as I see him, I'll be able to confirm if he's my niece's son-in-law or not. Although Xiajie was not completely sure if Duan Lingtian was his niece's son-in-law. However, in his opinion, this was too much of a coincidence. It was very likely that Duan Lingtian was his niece's son-in-law, even if he did not think it was possible for Duan Lingtian to achieve so much in just 800 years. While Xiajie was learning about Duan Lingtian, another person who knew Duan Lingtian had also heard about Duan Lingtian in the Chaos region where the God's Adjudication battlefield and the other 2 battlefields intersected. It can't be him. But isn't all of this too much of a coincidence? When Linghu Rinfeng heard that there was a monster called Duan Lingtian in the Chaos territory that she was in, her first reaction was that this was a monster with the same name as her son-in-law. She even thought that it would be great if her son-in-law was also so monstrous. In that case, it would definitely be a good thing for her poor daughter. Only men were strong enough? Only then could he better protect his woman. Of this, she firmly believed. Back then, if it wasn't for the fact that her man wasn't strong enough to recognize her existence, he wouldn't have been able to protect her life. She wouldn't have to wander around with her other daughter. Although, she had always felt that he was a heartless man, but in fact, it was more of a way to comfort herself so that she wouldn't have no one to vent her feelings on. This Duan Lingtian? It was someone from the profound Handle Land. Him? It's also in the profound Handle Land. With the same name, they're all from the profound Handle Land, and they're all from the lower planes? They are all less than 1,000 years old. Is it really him? Linghu Ranfeng was still in disbelief. She even asked her daughter at one point, Chuyin, what do you think? Could it be him? Mother, Linghu Chuyin said, don't forget, back then, brother-in-law's achievements in the profound Handle Land? It also surprised you, and you even personally went to find him and left him some things? At that time, brother-in-law was already not an ordinary person. Can an ordinary person enter the profound Handle Land and become a god in a short few hundred years? When Linghu Chuyin's words fell into Linghu Renfeng's ears, it also made her wake up from her dream. That's right. Back then, if she hadn't seen Duan Lingtian in the profound Handle land with her own eyes, how would she dare to believe that he was the husband that her daughter had found in the lower planes in this life? Even if she hadn't seen it with her own eyes, if it had been someone else who told her, she also wouldn't dare to believe that he could kill his way from the mundane world to the profound Handle land in a short few hundred years. Then it should be him. His talent and comprehension ability really can't be measured by normal logic. Linghu Rinfeng nodded and sighed. It's just that I didn't expect him to have entered the realm of lesser god. Regardless of strength, just based on cultivation alone, he's already ahead of me. As for strength, Linghu Rinfeng admitted that she was far inferior. After all, the other party could even kill lesser gods. Moreover, there were many lesser gods who had died in his hands. Clearly, the one he killed might not be the weakest lesser gods. Mother, brother-in-law must have come here for elder sister, Linghu Chuin said. Linghu Chuin said. She felt that this was not difficult to guess. If Linghu Choui could think of this, what more Linghu Rinfeng? Now that he's here, I can be more at ease. This chaos region is too chaotic. Linghu Rinfeng glanced at Linghu Chuin and sighed. Ener, mother has let you down. I'm the one who's looking for my daughter, and I even brought you here to take risks. Since that brother-in-law of yours has come in, and he's so powerful, and his reputation has spread far and wide. As long as that girl Schwerer is still alive, as long as she's still in the God's Inquisition battlefield, she'll definitely hear about him and go find him. We definitely won't be as efficient as him in finding Schwerer. Let's go out. Now, there's not much use in continuing to stay here. Along the way, she had brought her daughter Linghu Chuin to search for her other daughter, Xianingshue. During this time, they had encountered many dangers. Although they had averted danger several times, every time she thought of it, she would still be frightened and break out in cold sweat. It didn't matter if she died. She was more concerned about her daughter's safety. Originally, she felt that it was unfair to put her other daughter in danger in order to find her other daughter. However, she had no choice. She couldn't watch her daughter die. Now, she knew that her daughter's husband had come, and he was even more powerful than her. Now, in the Chaos region where the God's Inquisition battlefield and the other two battlefields intersected, the probability of finding her daughter was much higher. Under such circumstances, there was not much use in her staying. Mother, why don't we go look for brother-in-law? Linghu Chuin said. We can meet up with brother-in-law and then go look for big sister together. Look for him for what? Linghu Rinfeng shook her head. To drag him down? Let's go. Linghu Rinfeng did not say anything more to her daughter. Instead, she brought her to the teleportation formation in the military camp and teleported to the military camp of the God's Inquisition battlefield outside the Chaos region. The teleportation formation in the military camp of the Chaos region was unable to teleport people out of the dimensional battlefield. One could only teleport to a military camp of a certain dimensional battlefield and then leave through the teleportation formation in the military camp. Duan Lingtian was currently in closed-door training. He did not know that many of his acquaintances had already found out about him in the Chaos region. His mother-in-law and sister-in-law had cleverly left the Chaos region and the dimensional battlefield. Xiajie, the third uncle of his wife Ker's previous life, was also looking for him. However, as Duan Lingtian had found a secluded place to train in closed-door training, he had not shown himself recently. Although Xiajie had looked for Duan Lingtian in several places where Duan Lingtian had last appeared, he had not been able to find Duan Lingtian. Under such circumstances, he could only choose to give up. That's not right. Suddenly, Xiajie remembered something. Since that kid has come to the battlefield of the God's Inquisition, it means that he can go to the world of divine remains at any time, and he doesn't know that Schwerer is not in the world of divine remains. Xiajie remembered clearly that his niece, Xianingshue, had entered the dimensional battlefield back then. Duan Lingtian's parents and family did not know about it. Therefore, even if Duan Lingtian had reunited with his family later on, it was impossible for him to know that his niece had entered the dimensional battlefield. Under such circumstances, Duan Lingtian would definitely go to the Xia family in the world of divine remains first. Leave the Chaos realm, leave the dimensional battlefield, and return to the Xia family. Xiajie quickly made up his mind. However, Xiajie would never have thought that Duan Lingtian had long known that Kerr had entered the dimensional battlefield. However, he had not heard it from his parents, family, or friends. Instead, he had heard it from Linghu Renjie in the Mystic Handle Land. Linghu Renjie was the elder brother of his mother-in-law. Linghu Renjie had also heard about this from his mother-in-law, Linghu Renfeng. However, although Duan Lingtian had known about this for a long time, after arriving at the battlefield of the God's Inquisition, he had indeed gone to the world of divine remains and the Xia family. Of course, his purpose was to find out if Kerr had returned to the Xia family. At the same time, he also wanted to make a trip to the Yun family. After leaving the Chaos Realm and returning to the military camp in the battlefield of the God's Inquisition, Xiajie immediately teleported back to the world of divine remains. After that, he headed north and returned to the Xia family. After returning to the Xia family, Xiajie learned from the people around him that someone had looked for his niece, Xianing Shui. At that time, that person had looked for the son of the person beside him. He said that his name is Duan Lingtian. Is he Shui's husband? It's really him. It's finally confirmed. Good lad. Amazing. How long has it been? In just 800 years, he has actually come this far from the mundane realm. After confirming that Duan Lingtian, who had caused a stir in the Chaos Realm, was his niece's husband, Xiajie's face lit up with joy. At the same time, he looked as if this was how it should be. How can the person that my niece has taken a fancy to be a mediocre person? Shui really has good taste. After saying that, Xiajie looked at the person beside him and asked, "Has Miss Shui returned recently?" However, the person beside him seemed to have something to say at this moment. Speak. Xiajie's expression changed slightly. Did something happen to Miss Shui? He knew the person beside him very well. Judging by the expression on his face, he knew that something bad must have happened. Moreover, it was most likely related to his niece. Third Master. The middle-aged man beside Xiajie smiled bitterly. Some time ago, I saw the Patriarch bringing Miss Shui back. However, not long after that, the Patriarch of the Yun family came as well. After that, I didn't see Miss Shui again. I didn't hear anyone saying that they had seen Miss Shui and the family either. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.